Finding Duke is brought to you by Babbel. Thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that's sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an insanely addicting and fun way to learn a brand new language. I started using Babbel because there's so many ways to learn through it. You have podcasts, games, videos, stories, there's even live classes, and in addition to all of that, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee, so you can give it a shake, see if you like it, and if it's not for you, you can get your money back, no problem. Right now, save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/Duke. That's babbel.com/Duke for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 86 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I am joined by Lightfall man himself, Lord Cognito. It's Lightfall, right? I'm getting it mixed up with Lightyear. They got the same font for the
good point. Yeah, it's the season. It's the season for Destiny fans right now. So I'm excited. A lot of stuff going on, and man, Gamescom, nice guest pulling up in the realm of the Duke. So I'm excited, man.
Hey, I am too. Yeah. We got my brother, LoneVaultWanderer, on the official DD show. We had you on for DDU to talk about Starfield. That episode's public for those who want to check it out. But Lone, my brother, you are here. How are you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm good. I was talking to you before, rewatched Gamescom ONL last night. Just wake up to talk about more games. It was a pretty interesting show, so I'm keen to chat more about it.
Of course, we're going to talk about that and a lot more happening in the Xbox sphere. So buckle up. We got a hell of an episode ready for you. You also may notice if you're watching the video version, LSM hooked me up with a new camera. You can actually see the color of my hair now. It is indeed auburn.
Good.
Yeah, looking a little crispier. The lighting still leaves a little to be desired, but shout out to LSM. They saw the camera freezing. I was going to buy a new one next year. I wake up to a text from Dusty. He's like, so we bought you a camera. I was like, okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Let's go.
So here I am, much more visible now, and the image is sharper. So that'll be nice for both this and videos on my channel. So shout out to LSM for that. Also, if you want to support us, patreon.com/laststandmedia. Go ahead, check that out. You get early access to every episode that drops on Thursdays. You also get DDU, where we embraced the pain. Cog, we were officially embraced. We talked for about 40 minutes on the Embracer group because the news passed us by. You know, this last week, we got Snake Mitten again. Yeah. We'll talk about it a little bit in the main episode, but what was the Cog review on this episode of DDU?
Yeah, the Cog review was strong, man. I like that. I like the fact that, we analyze something that is brewing, that is continuing to develop with Embracer and all the acquisitions and what the end game is. So I highly recommend it if anybody has a chance to go check it out. It's very interesting to see. And Lord of the Rings in itself should get everyone's attention at some level if you're interested in those type of IPs. So for sure.
Absolutely. We got some cleanup work before we get into some pretty good questions here. So let's start off with Daniel Pressure. It's a correction. This is a rare one. We typically don't have these, Cog. They never happen. Daniel Pressure writes, hey, Dukes, just wanted to make a slight correction for last week. You said the Ascent and Death's Door is already out of Game Pass, which is incorrect. I believe what your brain was thinking of that is no longer exclusive after a couple of months. And Death's Door didn't launch in Game Pass. It came later after it was no longer exclusive. Anyway, thanks for the great show. And have a Cog knew High on Life was getting a delay and lied straight to our faces kind of day. And you, sir... We need to talk about that. What happened with that? So I'm sitting there, for those who don't recall, talking about High on Life, and I'm like, man, that one can't get delayed. You gave me that look, head turned to the side, 45-degree angle. You're like, I don't know, bro. Did Cog know what was happening?
Cog did not know. I remained innocent. I was holding true. I did not know. It was just more of a funny thing, like everything's getting delayed. So it was kind of like, we don't know. We're going to see. One of those type of, but I did not know about your game, man. Yeah. I had no idea.
Starfield and that, man, have officially joined the club, but we'll be talking more about High on Life when we go over everything shown off at Gamescom in a little bit. Let's just keep rolling here. Adam0195 has a question that perhaps could be a little too personal, but I'm willing to take a swing at it anyway because we've done worse. Hey, Dukes, I've been listening to all things LSM for around 8 months now, to the point that the podcast have replaced audiobooks for me. Here's what's interesting. I think we have a lot of people like this. However, what I've realized after all these months is I have absolutely no idea what any of the LSM crew looks like. I now fear finding out in case I find myself disappointed. My question is, do either of the Dukes have any tats? I've recently got a number of gaming-related tattoos from some of my favorite games and plan on getting more. Keep up the good work and have a great day. So, Cog, how do you feel? We're just voices to some people. I'm so accustomed to like all my content being video form so people know what I look like, but there are folks who listen to us and don't know what we look like.
That is true. Very interesting. Yeah, when you hear about it from that perspective. The question is interesting because I've always wanted one as far as the tattoo thing,
one,
but I don't have one. Because the thing is, it's like a loan. It's like a decision, man. Like you got to commit. Like you better love this thing that you are putting on
Pressure
your body. You know what I mean? Like you got to. Like, so think about what you may have loved younger, and then you get older. You're like, oh man, I can't believe I was doing that. Mm-hmm. So I just never could commit. But I always respect people that really got cool tattoos, like. Really dope. But what about you, Matty? You tat?
No, but I want one. I'm looking to get one within the next year. You talk about things you may regret. For me, it's the good old fashioned Revan mask. I'm like, I will never regret that. Like I want a Revan mask on the arm or something like that. But yeah, I always since in high school wanted a full gaming sleeve. Like that's something I've dreamt of. So I wanted to do it. I just gotta. I don't know. I had the same issue you had, Cog. I was like, what would I get that I wouldn't regret? Or I think would not just mesh well with the rest of the other tattoo ideas I had. Like I wanted the stained glass from Kingdom Hearts, but I also want Revan. I'm like, okay, it's just going to be all over the place. So I got to find a way to make it all work, but I will be getting one within the next year. Yes, indeed. I don't know where though. I'm a skinny guy. Like even when I hit the gym a lot, like it's not like I'm bulking up massively. So like for me, like a chest tattoo or a back tattoo, it would just take up my whole body at that point. So it has to be the arms. So I gotta choose wisely because it'll always be exposed.
No doubt. Load any tats, man.
I've one. So I was like both of you didn't know what to get. I wanted to get something that actually had meaning. And then a few years back when my dog passed away, I just got a tattoo of my dog on my tricep. So I would take my jumper off now to show you, but yeah, you want me to do it? I don't know.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, he's about to do. Oh, we get that exclusive, y'all. Yeah. We get that exclusive behind the creator. Okay. There we go. You don't get this type. This is premium content right now.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
There it is.
Oh, that's what's up. I like it. I like it. That's what's up. Love it. That's what's up.
The arms are looking great.
They did a good job, brother.
Yeah, I thought about that for Duke when Duke passed away. I was like, yeah, I do want to get him on my body as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So we got one tat in the building. All right. So this one's for me. I need to answer the bell here. I've definitely held Cog's feet to the flame, so I need to answer. So Swishmit Skates writes in. It says, good evening, Dukes. I'm wondering, with Cog diving headfirst into Danganronpa, that's an exaggeration, by the way. I want to put that out there. He's not diving headfirst. He dipped his toes in the damn pool, okay? He says, when is Matty going to start Yakuza Like a Dragon? I've been listening to Cog and Chris hype this game up for weeks, and I finally decided to dive in, and I must say, this story is extremely endearing. I think this would be an excellent LSM content piece to get a spoiler cast together with the Dukes and Chris about this glorious game. And after Saints Row, Matty could use a palate cleanser. Thanks, Duke dudes. I am already playing a palate cleanser, but yeah, I got to answer the bell on this one, Cog, because I may have started another JRPG recently, and it's not like a dragon.
It's not like a dragon.
and I said to my friends, I said, Cog's going to kill me, bro. He's going to kill me, man. That I'm like, it's one thing if I'm picking like shooters or I'm like replaying a Western RPG, but I'm picking something in the genre that he wants me to play. But I'll explain my master plan when we're in the what we're playing section. No. I'll just say that I'm hard at work on completing a series that is just it's too compelling to walk away now. I'm too deep, but we'll see. I'm thinking about going to another level with JRPGs, which is playing two big ones at once.
Oh,
So
wow.
we'll see how vicious I'm looking to get here.
So good. Just LSM community. I know what to do. Just yeah, bullied me for weeks. I want the same energy for the comments. Every comment I want to see. And by the way, have Matty didn't play a Yakuza like a dragon type of day. I want that energy for the comments moving forward until this man plays game. I did what I was supposed to do. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, we got news to go through now before we talk about what games we're playing. Some quick ones at that. I thought this was really interesting. I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. Lone, start with you. Multiversus was the best-selling game in July thanks to its Founders Pack. Now, I know we're sort of in a drought now, but I don't think I've ever heard of this before where a game that's free to play is actually the best-selling game of a month. So have you not only played Multiversus, but what do you think about the fact that it's so popular that even though it's free, it was the best-selling game that month?
I haven't played it, but I always like interesting selling techniques to try and get a game back on track. It's not something that I have a lot of knowledge of or experience of, but yeah, no, good on them. Like I like seeing it happening. It's nice to see the best selling game for a month isn't some very popular AAA game that we see all the time. So good on them.
Indeed. What about you, Cog?
I was actually blown away by this. I was really surprised. Obviously, the fact for the majority is after play. I haven't played it yet either, and the majority of it is free to play and stuff. And to see what it's doing is pretty interesting to me. Like, I didn't see this coming. I knew it was one of those things when we announced it. We saw the potential of us, like, to get into space of a Smash and things like that. But now when you look at the IPs and people having fun and people saying actually the gameplay systems are actually pretty cool. Yeah, this is a surprise to me, man. And it goes to show you like this model. If you catch fire with one, right? This is what company we talk about Sony in the amazing crossover episode that we just did. It was kind of fun. But we talked about Sony and their live service model, and that's the bank. The bank is you're hoping you get one of those under your control, and then maybe you get this type of revenue stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was pleased to see it because I think the game deserves it. And especially as someone who's put a decent amount of hours into it, I see people with like usually the battle pass stuff. I haven't seen anyone fight with like a paid skin, which is the more surprising part. I put probably 20-ish hours into the game right now, and I've been tempted to buy the skins. So I was thinking to myself when I was playing it is, okay, people are buying the battle pass, but they're not really going to pay for much else. But to see people loving the game so much, they're going to pay for the characters and the character keys was great. I'm holding out because I want to wait till they get a bunch of updates so that when the coin stream slows down and I can't buy with in-game stuff, I'll have those keys stashed away. But I was very pleased by this. I was really, really happy to see this game's getting the success it deserves.
Yeah, Founders Pack bundles, man. Crazy.
Indeed. After this, we learned Ubisoft may be working on a Blade game with Marvel. The internet had their heart skip a beat, but then Ubisoft clarified the rumor posting on their Twitter account they are not doing that, and that they're looking forward to seeing whatever Marvel is up to next. So I thought this was kind of surprising. Ubisoft never gets in front of a rumor. I don't know if there's much to be said on it, but I just was slightly relieved because that does not sound like a good fit at all.
No,
right.
Yeah. Like I love Ubisoft. Have a special place. They have a special place in my heart, but I just don't think they'd be doing a good job with it. Part of me is also fatigued with Marvel a little bit. I don't know. I feel like this phase, especially in the movies and the TV shows.
It's been a little uninspired, comparatively speaking.
It has. So when they're like, Blade movie, I'm like, yeah, cool. Just get your shows and movies right. But I did.
I want them to do what DC's doing with the one-offs, like the Batman, Joker. Like I think these have been some of the best films I've seen in recent years. Granted, I'm no film critic, but
Batman was so good.
I love Batman, right? So to me, I would love to see Marvel go down that route. I love the idea of tying it all together. That felt like a moment, right? Endgame felt like the moment. Now it's time to do something else. And I've been keeping up, but now it just feels skippable, right? Like She-Hulk, I'm just like, I'm okay. This looks like trash, honestly. So, I'm right there with you, Lone, that the Marvel fatigue may be setting in for many of us.
It's because they all feel the same. And if we got a Blade, I know we are getting the Blade movie, it's just going to be a bunch of jokes and everyone's just not taking themselves seriously. But I know, but that's what I feel like it could be. So maybe if there is going to be a Blade video game, the developers probably have a little bit more freedom to take the game a bit more seriously because it feels like every Marvel piece of IP is just like, haha, having a joke. Like the latest Thor movie was, oh my God, it was I love Thor, but it was a joke every 2 minutes. So that's the one kind of saving grace I can see.
Not to shill hard here, but on this G Fuel thing, they literally have like goats on the Thor Love and Thunder promotion. I'm just like, I haven't seen the movie. I'm like, where'd the goats come from?
Man, I loved Ragnarok too, but anyway, yeah.
Let's see here. What else we got in the world of gaming? State of Decay 2. I thought this was actually pretty cool. 30th update. A sign of things perhaps to come for State of Decay 3 whenever that gets out the door, that's not just a drop and move on to the next project, but that it'll be supported for a while. And this 30th update includes legacy character recruits, save slot options, like additional ones, changes to the supply lockers, plus dozens of quality of life enhancements. So it's not like a major one that's going to blow you away, but it was more so the sheer number of like, hey, here's our 30th update. And even though they're up to their ears right now in working on State of Decay 3, that they're still supporting this game in some way, I thought was really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still a lot of legs on State of Decay 2 that they still want to work on. It still shows me that State of Decay 3 is still a little bit farther out.
Yes.
And they're still good. The fact that they're still supporting 2 in this manner is the indicator to me.
Indeed. All right, let's talk about 343. They just seem to come up and I feel like this is very, very interesting. We'll get into why. 343 has rotated Last Spartan Standing out of their matchmaking pool to make way for team doubles, and it claims that it's their least played mode by a sizable gap. And I was thinking about how they're going to be investing in their Battle Royale, which I imagine will, by the way, be a bigger deal. And I know this isn't a Battle Royale mode, but they're investing in a mode with a separate team, certain affinity. And I started looking at it and thinking, so are we at the stage now where if a mode does not work and it's so underplayed that we cut it? Because weird example, but Lone, you know what I'm talking about here. Nuclear Winter from 76 was great, but it got cut out of the game completely when people weren't playing it anymore. So it feels like we might be in that state now where just modes are getting chopped out of games. And Cog, I wanted to pass it to you first just to see how you're feeling about a mode being rotated out of the matchmaking pool so early, because this was one of the first added modes to the game post-launch.
Yeah, that's the surprising part about it. And it's at the point, I'm exasperated with 343. I don't like to keep piling on with them, but it's just the base is not there. And with live service and all these different playlists, you need that healthy player base, consistent player base to feed these playlists, because you're segmenting an already, in their case, smaller population. So that's probably what it is. And what I play Naraka, right? And there's a kind of unpopular mode that they've added, and you feel the difference when you go into that. Those wait times for those queues are really bad. So I can only imagine what's going on here with Last Spartan Standing. They just added that mode. So
it's season 2 mode. Season 2. It's already gone. Yeah. Think about that. That's insane to me. And we talked about it a lot in our Defining Duke cross sacred symbols, how 343 is in such an awkward position right now as a team handling the currently, I'd say, biggest IP underneath the Xbox banner. And I just continue to see these questionable moves where I look at it and say, what's gained from removing this? And maybe that's my lack of industry knowledge speaking on that front, because to me, I don't understand what they gain by saying, okay, we're going to get rid of this mode that we just put in here when the player base is already really low. There's a reason they didn't share numbers for what the difference in the player count was between modes, because they're probably all low. Let's be real with ourselves. And since that's the case, how can you accurately gauge it? Do you just decide to kill it off because you're like, we're not going to see this grow? Maybe it just didn't start off hot at all. I personally didn't like the mode, so I get why less people are playing it, but I don't think it just shouldn't be there. And I wonder what it means for future modes that don't do that well.
Yeah. What do you think, Lo?
Yeah, it's unfortunate for people that did actually play the mode. The one thing that I'll say, and this is going back to my experience with Bethesda, like whenever you have X amount of modes, whatever it might be, every time they introduce new weapons, every time they introduce a new update, everything has to be balance checked in every single mode. That takes QA time. That takes dev time. So if there's not enough people playing this mode, then they're just going to drop it. Otherwise, on them, it's not worth the time investment if 2% of people or 1% of people are playing this mode. So seeing it from that perspective, it probably does make sense, but they might have another reason.
There's that Bethesda experience coming through. There it is. There it is. That's a really good point. So there you go. Like I said, it was my lack of industry experience speaking. All right, let's move on to our next one.
Though.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. It's hard though. Like sometimes when they don't explain the reason, you're trying to guess or whatever. So that's just my best guess.
Okay, well, I think you're on the money. It sounds right. This is some good news though. It's official. A Plague Tale Requiem will not slip through the cracks and release in 2023. Developer Asobo has now confirmed the game has gone gold, which practically cements the game's release date of October 18th, 2022. And a reminder that A Plague Tale Requiem is dropping day one on Xbox Game Pass. So this is one I'm really excited for. And Cog, I was breathing a sigh of relief seeing that this is probably going to make it out. And, you know, it looks like one of the highest quality games we're going to get this year. It looks like it's, you know, doing something different. I saw the composer say like this was the strongest piece they've put together for a video game. So they're really excited for people to experience it and all the emotions it brings to the table. So this seems like a really big release for them, for the industry, and I cannot wait to play it. So, Cog, how are we feeling knowing this one might be a lock? Because didn't Cyberpunk go gold and then get delayed? That's why I'm like kind of in the maybe it gets pushed back to like January.
No, absolutely. Yeah, this was a breather sigh of relief with the way 2022 has been with the delays and nothing safe. So. This was one of the ones we had our eyes on, you know, we looked at it. We like, man, this has a lot of potential, look good, you know, in the early previews. I'm glad to see they make it's a strong Game Pass get. And with the year Xbox is having with the first party exclusives not being there, you want Game Pass bolstered with everything that you can put name association to your console. So I think it's good for them that it's coming out still.
Absolutely. Lone, anything you'd like to add on that?
No, I mean it's good that it's coming this year. We've had too many games delayed to next year. It looks and it looks beautiful. Like I almost feel like I don't know if either you probably played A Tale of Two Sons. I feel like that kind of family story bond that is something that I'm going to relate to a lot and enjoy. So I'm keen to actually play it on Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really pumped for this one. So again, October 18th this year seems like a bit of a lock. Not too much longer now. Next thing, just a little bit of an update here. I imagine none of you are interested in this, but you know me, due diligence. Ubisoft Plus may be available on Xbox soon. That's Xbox, not Xbox Game Pass. That's Xbox, so that means you would be paying $15 a month for the entire Ubisoft vault. This comes through Agior Namenti Lumia, who is a Microsoft Store leaker, and they simply posted an image of the Ubisoft Plus logo. And they've been on the money for ever since we started doing this show. So I would just take it as it is, which is that Ubisoft Plus is arriving shortly. I personally will not be picking it up. I would like the classics package that Sony has been privy to, see if we can get that over on the Game Pass front. But otherwise, you know, Ubisoft games can be a guilty pleasure at times, but
yeah,
I'm talking like the old ones. Otherwise, though, I would rather pass. Cog, your thoughts?
It is interesting. It's funny you discuss. I just love laughing at it. It's interesting to me that Plus is coming as a separate entity kind of thing, and I'm curious what the attachment rate is going to be with people. Will they dive in? What is going to lure the console gamer to say, okay, not only that I'm paying the $15 for Game Pass or whatever is in the Ultimate subscription, I'm going to additionally add this service. So it's unlike EA Play, which is the integration in, right? So Ubisoft's got a lot to sell to the consumer to say, hey, this is why you need to be in this service. And I'll give you, I don't know, man. That's going to be interesting. I want to see the numbers, the return on these subscriptions on console. But maybe they prove me wrong.
You said you had a soft spot for Ubisoft. I mean,
I do, but am I going to spend
not that soft.
Am I going to spend $15 a month, or probably here in Australia it's a bit more than that? I can't see myself doing it. I'm at the stage in my gaming where, like, if I want to play a game, that's the game I'm buying, or I'll play it on Game Pass or whatever it might be. And that's when I spend the money on subscription. Otherwise, you're spending Game Pass and Ubisoft Plus and Netflix and all this. It just, that money adds up. And if I'm not actively playing at least one game on this service, and I'm probably not going to do it, I'm more interested in the newer stuff that Ubisoft has to bring out. I love their back catalog, but I just can't see myself going back and playing Maybe Prince of Persia, maybe. But
That game's good, bro.
I like Prince of Persia. Yeah,
I went back and played it for a video 4 months ago. I didn't like play it to completion, but just seeing what that game was doing for its time, especially on animation level, was really impressive.
Yes. Oh yeah, I love
it's so good. And look, I'm a sucker for the old Assassin's Creed games as well. But I've already bought them, right? Like how many times have they gone on sale on Steam or Ubisoft's launcher? So yeah,
of course. Finding Duke is brought to you by Babbel. For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly a high point in our academic careers. I remember for myself, I started off with Italian in middle school. I dropped it in high school, even though if I finished it then, I wouldn't have had to take it in college. And in college, I ended up taking Spanish. I was all over the place. And then Babbel is what brought me back in, because thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an insanely addicting and fun way to learn a brand new language. That's because of its 15-minute lessons that make it perfect to learn on the go. I started using Babbel because there's so many ways to learn through it. You have podcasts, games, videos, stories, there's even live classes, and in addition to all of that, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee, so you can give it a shake, see if you like it, and if it's not for you, you can get your money back, no problem. And you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. Right now, save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/Duke. That's babbel.com/Duke for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. All right, we got an update on Redfall, small one, but this came through at QuakeCon. They say that it's their most expansive open world to date. How are we feeling about this, Lone? Mr. Bethesda, we excited for Redfall?
It's because look, Redfall
Brother
is
in arms.
It's it's a genre and it's a type of game that I typically don't play. Right, like I'm more single player. I'll stick with my single player games. If I had a group to play with, I would. I think there's been a lot of ragtag crew, those kind of style of games, and I've yet to see enough that's really going to draw me in. I will probably play to give it a go. But it's not something that's screaming out to me, is my honest opinion.
Okay. Hey, me too. Let's balance the conversation.
Look at this.
Well, how do you feel about Redfall, Matty?
Yes, how do you feel?
Lone, I am down so fucking bad. You have no idea, bro. It's just been a painful ride for me. And it started with Deathloop, right? I don't think we actually talked about Deathloop when it launched, but
no.
This is a game that it just evoked everything that I thought Prey did better. And I'm not even like the standard Prey fanboy. Like I'm more of Dishonored, but to me, like Prey Mooncrash is what Deathloop should have been. And it did less than that. And that was a DLC. So I was very much down on Deathloop compared to the rest of the industry. And it's funny because an interview came out where they were talking about the design of Deathloop, and apparently it was much more open-ended compared to its, I don't want to say linear, but compared to the place it launched in, it was originally much more open-ended. I don't know if, Lone, you could actually speak to that at all. But, you know, this is something that sounded better on paper, at least, because that was one of my complaints is it presented this open-ended vision, but it was like you go down a very clear path, which to me is anti-Arkane. So I'm interested in Redfall purely because of namesake, but if I'm talking about the game I'm literally looking at, it does not scream Arkane, and it's not super appealing to me.
No, I feel you. I think part of the issue is probably because like Arkane makes phenomenal games. We know that. I did like Deathloop. I'll say that. I think Deathloop always had the issues that because it had such a small number of maps, it was so hard for them to get around the fact that it felt like you were going through the same maps 4 times. And they did, in my opinion, they did a very good job at making it feel different every run. But their past games, I don't know the numbers, so I'm speaking to what I've seen on news articles and stuff. I don't know how well their past games sold. This is them probably trying to be like, you know what, like let's try something a little bit different out of our typical DNA. So they're trying a lot of new things. Is it going to succeed? I genuinely don't know. I don't know what consumer Redfall is going to win over that's not already playing a ragtag video game or playing Fortnite. You know what I mean? Like, and the style of comedy, the characters in there feel like it's like kind of veering towards a somewhat younger audience. I don't know if that's going to take their attention away from a game like Fortnite that has Goku in it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't see it. I don't see it.
Cog, please balance us out.
It's funny. I'll be the dissenting opinion. Look, I respect what you guys are saying because you guys are truly, I'm new to Arkane. You guys are really the connoisseur. So I defer to your guys' opinions on what the core essence of their games mean. And I get it. I think what's happened is probably, I kind of agree with Lone Snake in the sense that I think probably maybe internally they've said to themselves, you know, this is a shift they want to try to make, engagement. We do know, Matty, based on interviews we had with Drinkbox and stuff like that, Xbox is very keen to having a cooperative aspect included in their games, from an engagement standpoint, Game Pass, all that stuff. So here's the thing. I am the ultimate, I'm like the opposite low because I'm the ultimate co-op guy. Like I'm co-op everything. I love cooperative experiences. But with me, sometimes I feel like as a co-op guy, some of the cooperative experience are shortchanged narratively, right? Because you're playing with your friend and you don't get that engrossing true story that sometimes you get with a single player. The reason why Redfall is I'm keeping in the mix with it, I'm kind of hopeful, is how they're bloviating about how expansive the world and how engaging the world is. And the key is going to be, can you truly tell that same quality story with others in it, right? And I know Matty's got his gripes with the way they're doing the save system, and they're all valid. I get the concern. I get it.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. another thing on the list. I almost forgot.
I want to see, I'm very intrigued by this title because I'm going to look at you two and say, did they piss off their core that much? Or is it a situation where they get a guy like me, the new to the Arkane guy, and this whole new plethora of users that, hey, we love it, and it's this great co-op thing. So it's going to be interesting what happens with Redfall. It's a very intriguing title. No,
I agree. That's exactly what they're probably trying to do, is appeal to a new audience that is going to help them progress as a developer. It's a weird one now with Game Pass in the equation because now we're not basing it technically on sales or whatever, but whatever the attach rate is for that, that's who they're trying to appeal to. On the storyline point, I will say, and this is not a Redfall thing, this is a co-op thing with games trying to tell stories. I can't attach to a story in a co-op game because people are yelling in my ear. I can't read things. I can't listen to what characters are saying. It's feel like it's always rushed. And I don't know if it's depending upon who I'm playing games with or whatever, but whenever I'm playing a co-op game, I feel like I'm just there tuning out, playing for the gameplay. So even if they try and tell an amazing story, I don't know if I'm going to be able to have the attention to listen to it, if that makes sense. I
know exactly what you mean. It's funny you say that because I'm the same way. So I play with a very specific group of people that you're not skipping the story and I'm listening to this. So I know what you mean because you got those friends who are like, hey, bro, and it's just core gameplay. If it's a good story, that bothers me. So I feel you there. I know where you're going with that. Absolutely.
It's funny to hear the theory on like why Arkane's going in this direction. And if we end up being correct, I just did a preview for Pentiment and got to talk with Josh Sawyer a bit. I shouldn't say I got to speak with him. Like there was it was like a Q&A chat. I worded that poorly. I wish I got a chance to speak to the guy. He's so smart. Like I'm like intimidated to speak to him one day.
So
just like that guy just could run circles around me. It's just insane. But he was talking about how when they were working on Pentiment, he very much was putting out there over and over, we couldn't have done this on Microsoft because if we wanted to experiment like this, it would have failed. He's like, we could probably not even kickstarted this game. He talked about the accessibility focus, like Game Pass made this game possible. So it's funny to see like one developer, and granted, maybe they had the benefit of like, we have Avowed, we have Grounded, like we're doing well and we're doing big things. Whereas Arkane's on the opposite end saying, well, we got all this money, and we have Game Pass, like let's run in this direction of more accessible, more approachable, more familiar, instead of to what they originally did, which you think it would go the opposite way, right? Because you see Bethesda game studios, while they're looking ambitious, like going back to basics in a lot of ways. And so it's funny to see Arkane maybe go the opposite way, but also these games take years to plan. So probably around the time the deal was shaping up, because I think they said talks began in, I want to say 2018, 2019. And I don't know how privy the creators of Arkane were to that conversation, but by that point, Redfall was probably already a thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do after as well.
For sure.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all the little tidbits we got. We have more news to go through, but for now, it's time to talk about what games we are playing. Lone, you're the guest. I'd love for you to go first, my friend.
Man, I'm playing Elden Ring, and
Mm.
I had an up and down with it. I'll explain it. I started playing it on PC, and oh man, the port, just so many issues that I had to try and overcome. And then there was this one issue in particular where the frame rate was really bad in particular areas. I didn't figure it out for 2 months. It was that bad. I ended up buying it on PS5 and playing it there.
Wow.
2 months later, this dude messages me on Reddit. It's like, hey, I think I have the issue. TLDR, new CPU, have to turn off E-cores, and it fixes everything. The game doesn't work well with that. So the PC port has issues, obviously. Started playing on PS5. I think it's an amazing game. Like I get engrossed in it. You need to follow a guide with this game, which is probably a little bit of a downside, but I'm playing as this awesome samurai dude, blitzing through it, having fun with it. It's a beautiful world. The one downside that I have with the game is that I think, and I know some people are going to say, this is a Dark Souls style game. Come on now. I think it needs a quest log desperately. The reason why I say that is because, like, let's say I go a week without playing. I sit down, and you know that meme, which is like Gandalf's like, I have no memory of this place. I feel like that every time. I'm like, what the hell was I doing? What person did I talk to start this random side quest? Where am I going next? You always have to follow a guide for that game. So I'm constantly on my phone to go to the next point in the game, which takes me out a little bit. The one gripe, just give me some sort of indicator of telling me where I need to go, even if it's just for the main story. I know the main story has the light things pointing, but for the side quests as well, just give me some sort of direction. Aside from that, it's obviously a phenomenal game, and I'm having a blast.
Dude, you're right on the money though about the quest log. Like that was something with some of the side quests. I've watched the walkthroughs and I've been like, how do you ever even try to figure out and where you do this? Yeah, it's just you look into it sometimes. You really do.
Yeah, and I've had some people say, I played and I didn't finish all the side quests, but that's okay. I'll get on the next time. For me, like, and probably you, Matty, as well, coming from BGS style games where it's a quest log, you know where you go, you complete that, you move to the next one, you know that you've completed everything. That's the kind of style of game that I play. So I know this is out of my comfort zone, right? But also, there are some quests which just break if you don't complete them in the correct way in Elden Ring.
Yes.
And you need a guide to get around that. And I came across that on 2 locations. One in this keep area where I went to another part of the map before I went to the keep, and then the guy wasn't there.
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
And then the girl was already dead. I was like, well, what's going on here? And apparently that's an issue. But anyway, aside from that, I love it.
How many hours deep are you?
I'm about 40 hours deep now. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much for Elden Ring. But again, I'm playing it like a couple times a week. But yeah, it looks so good on the PS5. I got a new TV as well. Yeah, loving it, man. Loving it.
I think, why do I remember the PS5 was the best version? Am I imagining that correctly?
It is, because they developed, like, I know that From Software, like they have issues with their PC ports in the past. And I actually think that the same issue that I have on Elden Ring repeats itself on Dark Souls as well, because of just their engine and the way that they develop stuff. I've figured it out in the end, thankfully. And I even posted a Reddit thread about it, because everyone with a new gen CPU would probably have the same issues as I do. So I think that's the reason why I think they do need to improve their PC ports, especially as PlayStation starts to, release more games on PC. But yeah, no, I love it.
Nice. Cog, what have you been up to, my friend?
Enlighten us. It's time to come home. It's my ritual game, Destiny, my addiction is back. I take some time off, and look, they had, one thing about Destiny for people that are hardcore, I always give Bungie credit as far as like the big expansions, because we're kind of like grizzled vets. It's hard to wow us at this point, right? It's hard to get us excited for what's next. The story has been great, but Lightfall really blew me away. I mean, it has this amazing cyberpunk vibe to it. We're getting a new subclass called Strand. The joke I had internally, Matty, was the Sony influence is already paying off, because this Strand ability is all about mobility, and they're literally using these like green, golden, almost like spider webs that you're swinging through, you're traversing. And I'm like, yo, that's the Insomniac influence. Look at the Sony money go to work. Just like I'm teasing on the stream. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So it's so cool. The overall saga of light and dark as it moves forward. There's this new area locale. It's Neptune. You get a new character class. There's a whole new race of NPCs. It's just really tying things together story-wise. And then on top of that, they then announced the the new season, what I'm playing right now, which is Season of the Plunder. Ben, I'm looking for the Ben. They are literally doing Sea of Thieves in Destiny. It is crazy. They're doing pirate ships. It's with the Fallen. You're boarding ships. You're doing all this stuff. It's a very fun, your mateys type vibe, and it's just cool. It's like I can't believe they really pulled it off. So the shooting is great. The storyline so far is cool. We deal with the Fallen. So I've been doing Destiny, getting back to that, and then I had to do this other game that I've been slandering for years. Game that I said I would never play. I was, just for context, when the Battle Royale craze started, I was a PUBG. So I was going for PUBG. I was like, I like PUBG. I like what they represent. All right, cool. Then PUBG was janky when it died. And then here come Fortnite. That was originally just a co-op kind of building game, but didn't even have a Battle Royale component.
I bought that version, by the way.
I remember when Fortnite was announced for the first time. It had nothing to do with Battle Royale. And then as the story goes, Epic helped out PUBG with their situation. So they had a Battle Royale mode. So anyway, at the end of the day, my main issue with the game looks good. I understand it's pop culture. There's Goku. There's everything in it. My main issue that always disconnected me was if I'm in a gunfight and I shoot you and then you erect the Eiffel Tower, I'm out. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. And that disgusted me, right? So now people have been telling me, they got rid of they got a no build mode. And they said the shooting is good. The graphics, I'm like, okay. But then they got me. As a Destiny fan, the crossover, the collab mode, I'm like, oh man, it actually looks cool. I tried it. It's actually pretty decent. I will say this, that engine, Unreal, I believe it's Unreal Engine 5 that they use, it's probably one of the better looking battle royals. It's not even a question. It's cool. I'm running around with Silver Surfer. I'm a Marvel guy, Lord, I'm sorry. So, I'm doing that. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. I get it. So I was doing that as well. Played that, and then I'll talk about one more that I was playing later.
Wait, I got pause, Cog.
Yes,
I'm looking at this trailer here for Destiny, the skins.
Yes.
Does this mean day one you dropped into Fortnite and you paid money?
I paid for the Destiny skin.
Colin cut this man's check. Colin cut this man's check immediately.
I bet the D. They got me. They came for everything I love.
He's using it wrong. No.
Bro, they got me.
No.
They got me, bro. Look, bro, what's your favorite anime? What's your favorite thing in gaming? Your favorite pop culture thing?
Oh, you're going to be in for a world of disappointment.
Let's go. I want to hear it.
Dragon Ball, and your boy's not.
You hold me strong?
Yeah.
I feel you. Yeah. I feel you. And I would have held strong.
With that.
I respect you. And I was there with you for years until the no build mode came out. Then I said, look, this is actually fun. That was my main issue. So other than that, those have been my main thing. And yes, I will eventually get to Danganronpa Chapter 2.
I think if they put that in Fortnite, I would have to just right? Just see what they're all about. It works though. I totally get why Destiny 2, that's your baby, man. Like I get
my baby, man. That's my ritual game. It's my ritual game.
Right on. Well, it seems like you're all in on live service. I am in the opposite end of the pool, it would seem. I am done with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's over.
Oh, you did it.
I did beat it. Yes, I beat it. It took me about 75 hours. Long game. But I loved it. It was a worthwhile journey. The 6th chapter is a 7-chapter game. The 6th chapter is a low point. It does some really questionable stuff with the story that I didn't like, but they stuck the shit out of the ending. So I really ended up walking away from the game very fond of it. Combat is excellent. It's very MMO like, but it just clicked with me. It has a personality of its own. Like the character designs are all not really explained. Like you'll have a girl with flaming hair, you'll have a girl with cat ears, and you're thinking like, oh, clearly this is a part of the lore. And at least to my knowledge, they just never get into that. It's just they exist as that. These wild looking characters that look ripped straight out of an MMO that you have like custom accessories on. So again, game's got a personality of its own, but like the story about living to fight and fighting to live and war, it's much more serious than JRPGs nowadays. And I appreciate it for that. I think the days of like lolly happy JRPGs should just fuck off for a while. And I'm a fan of this one. So I do recommend it. One of my favorite games of the year.
Nice.
That was a little treat before I got into the spawn of Satan itself. Saints Row reboot. As I'm sure everyone saw, the reviews are out. And this might be in Crossfire X territory, because that game I tore apart. It's the only game I've ever, when I reviewed, spoiled from top to bottom. I got really close with it with Saints Row, but I was like, you know what? It's a storied franchise, a lot of love for us. I'm not going to just ruin it from top to bottom for people and walk through beat for beat why it's a bad video game. What I'll do is my standard review, keep it spoiler free, but like get into the ins and outs to the best of my ability on why it sucks. So I'll do that here as well. And you all know I don't talk about games this way, right? Like I consider myself pretty respectful when I don't like a game. But when a game like Saints Row rolls along and gives me an existential crisis, that's when I got to just pull the plug on respectful Matty and like bring out the savage. Because what's happening here is I wasted 30 hours of my life. Like I'll just never get it back is what I thought when I beat it. I said, like, there's literally nothing I liked about it. I just did it because it was my job. And I was trying to find redeeming qualities to make it worthwhile, desperately at that. And I just couldn't. Like, this game is bad. It's not only bad on a creative level, which I'll talk about momentarily, but it's broken. And I'll let my review speak for that so you can just lay eyes on it. But I hit into a wall with a jet and it just started like rotating rapidly. Missions were breaking and never finishing. The final quest broke on me 4 times. No. 4 times. I had to repeat it 4 times. Imagine that after like all those hours, you just want to be done and maybe like, it's over. But it wouldn't let go of you. It was like that type of suffering, among dozens of other examples that are shown throughout the video version. Not to over promote the review, but the too long didn't read. This game needed a lot more time. And when you say, oh, well, you know what, Matty, you patch it, it's all going to be good. As I say in my review, it's creatively bankrupt, dude. Like, there is nothing here that is explored properly. And it's funny because I'll talk about another game I'm reviewing, which is Destroy All Humans 2. Playing both these games on opposite ends of the week, it was a mind-blowing experience unto its own, because I had one game that is trying to be comedically driven and fails horrifically to do that. And I have a game that is comedically driven and understands that and uses it properly. And just going back to back on those, what a weird experience, man. Because comedy in games, comedy in general is tough, but to see, and I'll use this word sparingly, a cringe-inducing experience like Saints Row, where like they wrote for fucking millennials till the cow comes home, man. And I don't like to categorize it into like eras, but it felt like a bunch of 45-year-olds got around and said, like, what are the kids like nowadays? And let's write characters like that. And it was, I don't know how. This is my final sting, and I'll move on because this will sound disrespectful, but I don't know how these are college graduates writing these games. I'm sorry, but I don't know how you got hired. I don't know how this is final work that passed the table. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it was unacceptable. It was so bad. It felt like a rough draft you submitted in college, and you rip it up and you say back to the drawing board. This needs to be better. That needs to be better. It just no characterization whatsoever. And it felt like, worst of all, they didn't even play the original Saints Row games, like any of them, 1 through 4, especially 3 for 4. 3 and 4. Sorry, I'm getting so worked up. I can't speak now. 3 and 4, for all their flaws, were hilarious games that had like ridiculous mission structure that the dialogue could lean into. But it just felt like this game was having an identity crisis the whole time. Like, there are moments where they're kind of trying to be serious, but they say something super fucking whack. It just killed me, man. It killed me. Like, there were missions where I counted 5 times they went "Hells yeah" with a Z, and I'm like, no.
He's like, I'm good.
I'm 27. I can't even say I'm too old for this shit. Like, this is just bad.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. I don't even know what to say.
It makes for a good story, at least, and I can steer people away from this game, but it's definitely one of the worst games I played this year. I was pleased to see a lot of reviews out there echoed the same things. Now since Deathloop, because we were talking about it earlier, I don't get gun shy, but when I feel like I'm putting out a negative review, there is a part of me in the back of my head that goes like, okay, prepare for the internet to possibly hate you for the next couple of weeks and just keep throwing that at you over and over, like devaluing everything you say because you didn't like the game they wanted you to like. So it is relatively like, okay, everyone understood this was pretty unacceptable. It had like a 67 on Metacritic last I saw, which is one of the lowest I've seen collectively for a AAA game. Usually reviews are all over the place. This was not contentious. It was pretty widely panned. And then on a more positive note, just to wrap it up, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. This is a remake of the second game in the Destroy All Humans franchise. Played that, much more bite-sized, digestible. We're talking about like a 10-hour game here, which is nice. There's more side content if you want. Hilarious game. You know, it's a parody take on 1960s with like the Cold War, and especially with their like having the KGB invade the United States and use the hippies to like effectively use them as a weapon of war. It's hilarious, man. It's a really good time. Brought back great memories on the PS2 era of how games used to be. Because I think there's a place for like cinematic focused games like this or like others out there, like a Last of Us will say. And then I think there's a place that's becoming more and more vacant for games like this that are fun focused. And Saints Row tries to be fun focused. Obviously, I explained why it wasn't. But Destroy All Humans 2 like gets the idea of, hey, isn't it just fun to like fly around in a saucer and abduct a ton of humans to level up your character and your weapons? Like, yeah, I love when games play into that fun factor. And this game gets that. So it was a nice refresher after a devastating experience, to say the least. And that'll be out on my channel by the time everyone's listening to this. So if anyone wants to check out those reviews and watch me go up and down the roller coaster, they do so. Speaking of Saints Row, though, let's get into our warm-up questions. The Muffin Man writes in, hello, Matty and Cog, as well as Lone. With the new Saints Row game being absolutely torn apart critically due to bugs, glitches, and an overall bad gameplay loop, what is next for the franchise? Is there anything next for the franchise, or should the studio call it quits and try their luck at a different IP? I wanted to finish this game, but the NPC I needed to speak to is stuck with a T-pose kind of day. Yeah, I saw people having that as well. So that's what's interesting about this conversation. And Cog, I want to get your thoughts first. You got to remember that there was Saints Row 1, 2, 3, and 4. People were kind of cold on 4 because it was feeling more like a DLC to 3. And then they do Agents of Mayhem, which is a game literally I think the industry has forgotten about, which had a lot of Saints Row energy, but it just never caught fire. And then they go back to Saints Row. They miss the mark on this. So you're between a rock and a hard place of, we tried something new, it failed. Surely Saints Row will be a slam dunk. We know how to do that. They woefully missed the mark. So Cog, what is the future of Volition? What is the future of this series? Because for a lot of people, I saw Jez talking about it a bit, feels like it's a killing blow. And I kind of agree, but where do you go if you tried to experiment, failed? You tried something like Back to Basics, you failed. What do you do?
They're in a tough spot. That's a good question. I look at it. Obviously, I'm not the biggest Saint Row guy. Those type of games I generally don't gravitate towards much. But I understand the following. I understand, how much it's beloved the earlier games. And one thing that was really interesting to me is to see when reviews came out on Metacritic, and then you start to see that Embrace a stock hit. And I'm like, man, this thing has ramifications everywhere. And this is something that they control. This is an IP they control. So they cannot be happy at the result there. We talked about them as the kind of purveyors and surveyors of the franchise. Where do you go from there? I almost feel you got to take a break. You got to take a step back from it. I think you can't not just throw this back up in someone's face. You almost have to go away for them to miss you and then really reevaluate what you want to do. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to break it for people who are fans of the series, but I think you have to take a step back for this franchise. There's a lot of damage right now, and you try to jump back up on the horse too soon, you could do more damage to the brand. So that's just where I'm at with it. I'm curious about what you guys think.
Yeah, I think with Embracer, you just got a ton of Lord of the Rings IP, right? Like I would send Volition, I'd throw them a bone, man. Like give them something that like people are just on a default interested in. But Lone, I'm curious as to your thoughts of where Volition and Saints Row goes from here.
No, I completely agree. Take a break. Like, I've gone through a game launch that isn't good. Right, I understand. I understand the pain that Devs are going laugh. No, it's fine. Like I get it. I know that they feel more bad than anyone else out there, but you have to take a break. There's a lot of bad blood. You try and jump straight into another game. It's not from the right place. Give it a few years and then try your hand at it again. Maybe the situation within Embracer will change, but if they tried to jump straight back into it, it'd be for the wrong reasons and it would probably do bad as well. Like there's clearly something wrong at the studio to produce a game like this. And this was meant to be a reboot. So like you'd think that this is them starting off on the right foot and they didn't get it right. Give it 5 years and then come back, and people will miss you at that stage and probably forget about this. That's what they need to do.
That or hand the IP to someone else, right? Don't do.
I mean, they could. Yeah, they could pitch it off to a third party.
Yeah, because I just think of like with the Xbox and 343, they're a perfect example of what happens when I don't think you just rip the IP from a team who's not handling it well. It's like, okay, I think Volition showed they got it, but they've had now 3 kind of misses in the row. I like Saints Row 4, but I just know a lot of people haven't. It's like, okay, well, if I'm Embracer, you have control of this IP, maybe find someone else to work on it, reinvent it, because I do think of something like Mafia, where when they moved it to Hangar 13, I thought they were fortunate because Hangar 13, for all the flaws of the gameplay loop that Mafia 3 has, seemed to understand what made a Mafia world click. And that's really rare. And I don't think you just stumble into that. So I think maybe if I'm Embracer, you take a look at all the teams you have and see who might be willing to take a crack at Saints Row, if at all, because I think there's a lot of cachet in this series where interest on it was high, especially because it's launching in a relatively dead time. I think the interest was even higher than anyone expected. So that makes the pain Lone was speaking about infinitely worse. But yeah, it seems like they have a lot of options. It's just that they are pretty stuck right now. And of course they have to try to fix this game too. They have to, they can let the creatives part speak for itself, but they have to fix this. So we'll see what they do, but I will be watching with bated breath. Staking with Embracer, let's talk with Ladies, who writes, "Hey Dukes, one of the things you guys just missed out on last episode were the Embracer acquisitions that came out of nowhere. I'm curious to know what you think, and in particular, what your expectations are for Lord of the Rings under the Embracer group." So, as I said, we had a nice 40-minute deep dive discussion on DDU about all things Embracer, but I wanted to make sure that in case you weren't a subscriber over on our Patreon, that we still make sure you're well fed, because it was just the shitty timing of the news cycle, honestly. So, Cog, how do you feel about Lord of the Rings under the Embracer group? Big moves? Indeed.
Yeah, this one was shocking to me because this fell outside the realm of gaming as well, right? This is like they are the surveyors, the purveyors of the franchise, Lord of the Rings, in film, and that's insane to me. And I love, was it Shadow of Mordor, the Nemesis system? I remember when Monolith made that game. That was really revolutionary for its time. And yeah, like they've got a lot of potential here to tie this stuff in. And we talked about the other acquisitions they did. I think it was limited run games and the physical. Shout out to the cars going by. There's a drag strip going on clearly. So like they got limited run. They got all these IPs, and I'm curious to see how they tie in all these things or if they choose to. They may just say, hey, we're gonna just focus on these games and kind of doing either remasters or stuff like that. They've had some really classic IPs. Look, there's a lot of characters, a lot of things you could do outside of like Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings was that thing and is that thing, right? So there's a part of me that's excited, but there's a part of me there's a lot of responsibility with this too. So I'm curious to see how they kind of integrate. But Lone, what you think about Embracer out here?
I love Lord of the Rings so much. I'm torn. I am very, very torn. I would like to see, if I was them, in terms of the game side of things, go back to Shadow of Mordor, go back to Shadow, like that. Those games were freaking awesome. I adored them. I would love to see a return to that. As you said, the Nemesis system, they did something really cool with there. Bring that back. I think it would be beautiful. I remember playing that game, feeling like jazz as I would move up. It was freaking awesome. I'm more concerned about the movies more than anything, because you get a bad game, Lord of the Rings, fine, whatever. It's the movies, it's the books. I don't know.
Don't you mess with his lore. Don't you mess with his lore.
I wasn't happy about The Hobbit. Let's just put it at that.
Yeah.
So I'm keen for the TV show. They wouldn't have a hand in that, obviously. I know people have their controversies with it. I still think it looks good. They did make some creative decisions with that, like not filming a lot of it in New Zealand and things like that, where it gets me concerned. Maybe Embracer is going to make more of those kinds of decisions, but we have to wait and see. I'm just torn though. I don't want them to mess with Lord of the Rings.
Hey, Matty?
I think I'm more excited than anything, just because of I think from the game angle, I love Lord of the Rings, but maybe not as much as Lone, in the sense where like I like the Hobbit movies, but I think that may just show a lack of knowledge, like what I didn't see, what I didn't know about, right? So I completely, I will
like the
show my
shine.
hand on that one. Maybe I didn't know something because I have friends who are also like the Hobbit shit, and I'm like, I liked it though. I don't.
Listen, man, you gotta own it if you like it, man. It's all
Yeah,
good.
but I can't stand on my square and be like, I own it, like I'm educated.
All right.
It's like, oh, I'm just,
No, I feel
I
you.
like the movies, so
No, I feel you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. But when it comes to the games, to me, the more options, the better. Because I thought of this since our last conversation, Cog, which is because Embracer owns the IP, it doesn't mean they also have to go in their family, but they can strike deals with studios outside
Correct.
of their realm and work something out that way. And they always seem hungry to revive stuff. So I would love to see them do that as well. I talked about the movie games with Two Towers, Return of the King being some great ones. Third Age, a great RPG that's kind of on its own, where I feel like they could just do that. There's a lot of options on the table for them. So I'm just excited to see them dig into the vault, see what they can revive, and then from there move into new stuff, whether it be through their current teams, which they have some good ones, or more likely, I would imagine, because there's, I think, higher quality beyond those walls, is reach out to someone, see what they think about things, and be the purveyor of Lord of the Rings goods in the gaming sphere, right? You think of how Marvel operates, how Disney operates, Lucasfilm Games, right? They're kind of these entities that go out and contract work to other developers. I guess the difference is Embracer has a slew of developers in their own brand, but I just feel like a lot of them are working on these like little bite-sized titles that gradually make them money over time, and the real money makers are like in Koch Media, THQ Nordic, so on and so forth. So I feel like they might go beyond their walls for some of these games, and that would be cool to see what partnerships they do. All right. This one's interesting. I caught this earlier this week, and I'm looking forward to this talk. Sir Deathspank writes, "Hey, Duke boys. So, Jeff Keighley recently announced a new category for the Game Awards, Best Adaptation. Given how 95% of game adaptations are utter crap, was this move made simply for financial reasons? Are we even going to see more film and TV sponsors in an already heavily commercialized event? Or am I just being cynical and this will make the show better? Anyways, have a my mom let her friend's child play with my games kind of day." Absolute worst. I remember when I was moving out of my first home, I was playing Munch's Odyssey on my Xbox, and this kid shows up, the kid who was going to move into the house, and he was like, "Can I play?" I was like, "Fuck no." You kidding me? Kidding me? I don't know you. You're not touching my controller. Come on now.
Sacred.
But I thought this was interesting to see because this year we got Sonic, we got Uncharted, Halo. The release cadence for these adaptations are picking up more and more as gaming is growing. And so it only makes sense that Jeff Keighley would tap into that and make an award based around that. But I think the commercialized aspect is interesting. I do recommend, I'm going to shout out another podcast. Skill Up runs one called the Friends Per Second podcast. Wonderful show. Love everyone on there. And they had Jeff Keighley on, and they actually asked some really good questions. And one of them was about the commercialization of the Game Awards. And Jeff kind of lied through his teeth at one point because no one in their right mind would ever say this. He said, when I watch award shows, I look forward to some of the ads there. I'm like, I was like, that's bullshit. Okay, let's not pretend we look forward to commercials in anything. But he talked about how it's a pretty hard line for them to walk, and he kind of understands. He does understand the complaints and how sometimes you have to take a look at what the event is. He says we know most are there for announcements versus the awards, which was a pretty interesting, transparent comment. And he says, like, to make sure that the show can continue to run, we need to do the ads. So I thought it was a really good look at things where, he's not trying to hide anything behind people's backs. Like, he's very open about it. I just think his choice of advertisers could be certainly much better. But back on topic with Sir Deathspank here, Lone, I'm curious how you feel about not only video game adaptations, like maybe we see Embracer Group do one, but also how you feel about the possibility of or not possibility, rather it's confirmed, but a video game adaptation award and that part of the industry being celebrated.
Look, one, I do not mind adaptations at all. Like, it just depends what the end product is like. I know they're like one category, and like if one is bad and the next one is bad, you feel like there's a connection when in really they're disparate studios and they're all doing their own thing. On the awards thing, I love Jeff Keighley. I think what he's done is great. We didn't have an awards show before him. What he's done with Gamescom ONL is awesome. And there has to be a commercialized aspect of these awards shows. Like, I'm very understanding of the reality. But if he is admitted in that podcast, especially with Skill Up, that he understands the complaints with, oh, there's too many ads and it's too many this, like we understand those complaints. I don't see how a solution to anything is introducing another award, because I don't know if you feel the same. There are too many awards in that show. Like for some of the awards to be like announced off the side, like they do like 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah.
And it feels like those winners or even the nominees don't have a chance to properly be celebrated.
Yes.
And this seems like a very niche category for award. I understand that there's enough games maybe to support it, but if I was responsible there, like keep the commercialized, keep the ads. Maybe those are the kinds of companies that are paying the most money, and they can ensure that there's another show and another show. I understand that side. I know people have their criticisms, but when it comes to the awards, I genuinely think the better option is to scale back the number of awards and actually allow the time for them to be celebrated on stage. I don't like to see them pass through so many things. And now there's going to be another category that's going to take time away from all the other potential winners. So yeah, that's how I feel. And I love Jeff and I'll always support him. But this is one thing that I kind of disagree on.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money. And I think it kind of stems back into the way our industry is, which is like everyone needs a gold stamp for everything. And
yeah,
I think when we kind of get to that point where, well, Jeff, why aren't you celebrating this and this and that? And, the Game Awards have been behind a lot of great causes like, accessibility in gaming and spotlighting
100%.
that. And I love that stuff. But at the same time, we're stretching ourselves so thin that we're celebrating literally every corner of the industry because everyone's demanding to be celebrated. It's like that awkward moment of like, how do you tell someone, well, we want to focus on like the big picture here to celebrate the overall teams? They can't. It's just the way our industry works now, where when you say that, you're on the chopping block now. You're officially disliked, and that can be dangerous. You want to stay on the good side of people. And I don't mean to make an us versus them mentality here, because I don't always co-sign that. I think a lot more people get along than they're willing to admit, but this could be part of that. But Cog, I'm curious as to your thoughts of, again, the video game adaptations, the awards here, and are we adding too many?
But there's a part of me that was not surprised by it based on the rise of adaptations and them doing what you said, Matty, which is kind of like, I don't say participation award, but trying to accommodate a specific genre. Okay, fine. Where I'm in 100% agreement with Lone is that I am pro dev. So it frustrates me to no end when I watch a show, one award was announced, whatever, Dev may get the chance to say a speech or whatever, and then the very next segment, and by the way, the winners of these awards were this, boom, and then here's Level Infinite, or advertising, and I get it. I want to be empathetic. I understand there's the financial aspect, they have to pay the bills, but I'm in total agreement with Lone here. It's like, we're here to celebrate games, and we're here to celebrate these developers also that make these games, and also show previews of what's to come. I get the format. My thing is, do not do off screen. Like, it really bothers me. Like, these teams work extremely hard, and to not get celebrated and when they win. Like, I understand if you don't have time for all the nominees and to go through each, but to not give a winner his due bothers me to my core. I'm always going to die on my stake on that one. But yeah, with this genre, it's just, I don't know. I do get the feeling that they're trying to cater to, another category that's rising. And I guess it's a good thing overall. I guess, I want developers to get something. But if the format's not corrected, I'm going to have a problem. And Jeff, I understand. He got to pay the bills. He's going to say the right thing. I don't really have a problem with him overall because, again, in agreement with Lone, look, I remember the days when this didn't exist. So this is our Oscars, right? This for our geek Oscars. We got it. We're here. It's a good thing overall what he's doing. I want to be clear about that, but we still have to get that right balance, right? Yeah. You pay the bills, but you still give the respect to the people who deserve.
Yeah, I think it was kind of unacceptable that the Game of the Year winner was rushed off the stage last year. I because I'm not anti-ad at all. Like, look, I do ads in my videos occasionally. Like, it'd be hypocritical for me. Like, I totally co-sign the idea of not kowtowing to every internet whiner who doesn't want you to make money. Yeah. It's fucking weird to me. So I think it's totally fine that Jeff is doing that. It's just that when it gets to the point where we've overloaded maybe on ads and it's pushed the core product to the wayside, that's when it's problematic, right? So you need to make sure, like, at least your game, I know it should be really everyone who hits the stage, but at least your Game of the Year winner can go out there, celebrate the team, say what they want to say, maybe inspire someone, right? Like that's part of it. Like I always dream if I were to hit that stage, I want to say something that maybe like invokes the next generation of talent to like, pick up the sword and shield and get to battle. I would love that. But I imagine everyone dreams of that moment. So to kind of strip that away is, I think, unfair and not good for the thing that they're trying to do, more importantly.
100%, man. And I don't envy. Part of me does, but another part of me doesn't envy the position that Jeff is in because
for sure.
Just look at the Oscars. Like it's another example. They're even worse at the moment with what they're doing. There's so many interests that he needs to please on the publisher side, on the fan side, on the advertiser side. I can almost guarantee that this award was brought in to try and speak more towards like those film companies that want to get involved with awards shows, and it's obvious like that's what's happening here, right? It allows for more sponsorship opportunities. I just hope at the end of the day that there is some realization that this is still the Game Awards, and we go back to that a little bit and reach, as you said, Cole, reach that balance with advertisers. If you need to have a pre-show to not even just to less ads in the pre-show, allow some of those awards to be announced and people to talk, even like the best esports player and stuff like that. Like I want to hear from those people. I don't know who they are, but like I want to hear from them. That it's a cool moment for them. Allow some of those awards to have their time to shine. Then the main show can have more of the ads, but at least for everyone that you announce as a winner, let them speak. And not everyone has to be on stage. Make them have a strict time limit. Pre-recorded, 1 minute. That's all you get, and this is the time that we're sticking on. Unfortunately, though, when you have people on stage, they take the limelight. Joseph Fares, I love you, bro, but it happens. So,
good point. Very valid.
Yeah. It's there's a lot that goes into it for sure, and so we'll definitely be talking about it at the end of the year for sure. And where they go with it. But for now, let's move on to number 4 with something more immediate with Michael Buffalo. Hey, Dukes. With Death Stranding hitting PC Game Pass, are you guys going to give it the old college try? This is something we talked about, Cog. We said we're team free 99 for this game. Once you got it for free, we'll give it a shake. So is this in the plans for 2022?
I've slandered this game. I've slandered because I definitely was like, I just didn't feel, I love Kojima, respect. I just didn't feel it was something for me. And I just didn't feel like, hey, I wanted to commit $60 or $70 to it. A lot of people I know love it. Shout out to Hog Leg. Shout out to a lot of good friends of mine. They really like it. They say there's some depth to it. I will say this. You put it in a service that if you're going to tell me I can take a peek for free $99, then I'll take a peek. I may spin it up. I will. I will say just to see what it is. And to me, that's the beauty of Game Pass. And I say that for a lot of people that there's some, I think with games now, with the sheer amount and the release schedule, you have to make business decisions sometimes. And there's some games that look cool, but it's just like, am I going to commit when it's around these other games that I kind of value more? Death Stranding was one of those games that the production value looked cool, but I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do FedEx delivery the game. I just don't know if I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm going to stand out. I'm going to let my friends tell me how they thought. But now, hey, you put it in Game Pass, hey, I might fire you up and see what's going on just to be part of the conversation. But yeah, I'm still going to be consistent that what my feeling was towards this game when I first saw it. That has not really changed.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm going to try it. I don't have my hopes high for this one, but now I can try it and not feel like I have to worry about things, which is what Game Pass is about, the ultimate discovery engine, right? So we'll see if we discover, as Phil would say, my next favorite game. Again, doesn't look like it speaks to me, but I see so many people telling me like, oh, this is great. Like it's one of the best games ever made. I loved it. So we will see. I want to try it.
Up. I want to know if Lone find out. He's Game Pass ain't safe in this.
There's too many other games on my backlog, man. I can't. No, I don't. Genuinely, I can say this confidently. I don't think I'll ever play that game. Like, and it has its audience, has a good review, and I've come to, especially with having a limited time and a full-time job, I've come to accept that not every game is for me. This is one of those games. You know what I mean? I'm not going to play it. I know that I won't.
I respect that.
I totally get that, bro. That'll be me in like a couple of days. So it's be like, yeah, try it. It's not for me. All right.
Danganronpa.
Hey. Hey now.
I wanted to throw a jab just to bother you.
I will never grow out of that. I was thinking about that. I was taking a shower today. I was thinking about Cog when he said, what was it you said you couldn't watch because you were like, I'm too old for that. You had age ego.
Yeah. Like
the Avatar, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, just something about certain animes, certain things, and it's just too kiddie, the sensibilities, and I can't cringe. I feel like I'm not supposed to be here. I'm like the older guy at the playground, and I'm not the I want to be
thinking about
creep.
it. Yeah, I get that, but I was also thinking, I'm like, don't the people who make this, aren't they around Cog's age? Probably. I'm like, what that makes sense. So are they creepier? Are they like really in on the playground?
That was funny.
No, they built the playground. It's different.
Facts. That's a good one. That was actually good.
Number 5, we'll get into the news after this. Digitaco says, hey, Super Dookie Bros. I have a guy that I work with overnight for 12-hour shifts with a lot of downtime. Gives us plenty of time for conversations. During a particular discussion of bathroom habits, he revealed to me that his plumbing is not very good, so he has to throw away his used toilet paper instead of flushing it. Otherwise, his system backs up. He claims he knows of other people that have this dilemma as well. Have you heard of anyone doing this, or is he just a special individual? All right, so
I'm sure it's a thing. Like, not every toilet system around the world is first class. Like, I'm sure it is a thing.
Wow, Lone just coming in with the level-headed take. I feel like I can't go after this guy now.
Genuinely, like I'm not gonna sit here and go after people that have to do that because of bad plumbing. Like, you could be in a crappy apartment that genuinely doesn't allow that.
There's a flush,
yeah. But oh God, it just doesn't sound nice, does it?
No, Cog, you going after this man?
I'm gonna leave him alone. I mean, because literally, I was saying the same thing. I was like, I was gonna go in on him, but it was just like, yo, I know no situation where like that bathroom is not it. You go to a friend's house or something like, I've been in facilities where you're like, man, and you know you just handle business, and you're like, oh man, like this thing's not going down, and like, so you know what it is. So it's just like, I empathize with that, but I've never experienced someone that was like, yo, I have to do these operations all the time. Like that's yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm just curious if, when this becomes the norm for Digitaco's friend, I wonder if like Digitaco, maybe, because you seem to like be wondering about this, right? So maybe this is a foreign concept. So you could flush your toilet paper. If this man were to come to your house, would he just throw it in the trash can anyway? Because that's what he does now. That's his way, right? And then I think about like the open-ended trash cans, like the odor. This goes deeper, right? This goes deeper.
Yeah, it goes deep. This is
quite the dilemma. Digitaco. This sounds like, something that could be common, but I don't know. I don't know if I could be that guy today. I've already been that guy for Saints Row. I don't know if I could be that guy. I wasted my asshole energy on someone already.
Hilarious, bro.
It's so funny that this topic came up because literally the other day, I don't know if either of you have been to Australia, but I know it's the same in the UK. So our toilet bowls don't have as much water as yours. And that's because of the way our plumbing system works is completely different. So because of that and the way that your water goes through the pipes, your pipes and your toilets are more likely to get clogged up than ours, which is why you have more like you have plungers more at the ready, whereas we don't. Yeah. It's just an interesting topic.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
How'd you learn that?
I don't know. It just came up and I've been to America several times, and I always get uncomfortable with how high the water level is in a toilet.
Oh, you mean it's doing too much? You're like, whoa.
Wait, Google it. Just Google how high the water level is in Australian toilets, and it's like you'll be confused, and it's because of the way the pipes work and how water is distributed out. So that's why your toilets, on average, actually do get blocked more than ours. It's interesting.
That is interesting. I'm glad you actually said that. So, like, I could imagine like a trepidation when you come, like when you first experienced it, like in America, you're like, "Yo, this is way like." Did you ever feel like, "Yo, this is about to overflow. This is about to be dangerous"?
Because when water in our toilets get to that level in Australia, that's like, "Oh no, it's overflowing." But that's just the norm for you. So I know every Australian going into America has that exact same feeling. It's weird. It's weird.
It makes sense.
No, I'm looking at this now, man. This dude. These toilets in Australia got to be covered in skid marks. There's no doubts. There's no doubts, man. Like there's no water here. Yeah, I guess so. Holy smokes! I can't imagine this. I'll take the clog risk.
So this is the thing. So I've found this site. American toilets are about suction. So they pour the waste down when the toilet is flushed and out in the trapway. The amount of suction required means that the trapway needs to be narrow. But in Australia and Europe, water is used to push the waste down the drain. So the trapway can be much wider and less prone to blockages. It's like how you don't use electric kettles in America on average too. It's just different.
I use one for my tea.
Good. I'm proud
fantastic.
of you. Don't use a microwave, please.
Yeah. Wait, that's a thing? For like people microwave tea? What?
Apparently.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
that's wrong. That's wrong, man. At least boil it on the stovetop, right? Like
microwave tea. Huh?
Well, that's your bathroom education for the episode. Let's get into the news. Gamescom Opening Night Live 2022 happened. A lot more games were announced than I expected, and overall, I personally thought the showcase was good. I'm curious what you guys thought, and we'll get into each and every game afterwards. Lone, if you'd like to go first.
Honestly, I was surprised by how much they had in there. I thought that this was a great opportunity to see games that I had known nothing about, developers that you don't often see. And I suspected that because we know what a lot of the big guys are doing right now. And a lot of those games have obviously been delayed to next year. So it was nice to see other developers take the spotlight. You know, Jeff made he made this point a little bit too often, but it's a good point that a lot of European devs had the time to shine here as well. So I thought it was overall a good show. A lot of CGI though, the one downside for me. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Cog, what about you? You liked it?
Same. Pleasant surprise. Played catch up kind of late because it was like a lot going on with me that day. But
yeah,
I didn't know what to expect, and I thought that it was pretty solid. There were a couple of titles here that really stood out. Totally agree. A lot of CGI, but I get a conceptually idea of what the game tried to go for.
Yeah,
and then some ones that I'm like, okay, now you have my attention. I'm going to be paying attention. See what follow you, track you.
All right. Well, with that, we seem all on the same page. Let's get into it. The first game that was announced at the show from GTA producer Leslie Benzies, which was Everywhere, which is a multi-world game. And they really never described what it was. It just seemed to be a game that could make other games. That's how I received it, like Project Spark, like Dreams. That's how I understood it. They said it's nothing quite like you've ever seen before. And a lot of my chat when I was streaming my reactions to this got NFT energy from this. They were like, this seems like the game where, they're like, our players are a big part of this. Our players are going to build these worlds. So I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just say that, like get more into that? But they never really put a genre on it. So, but they never say it's like a brand new thing. So I don't know really what this game is, but I'm just curious. Cog, we'll start off with you. What you felt about what seems to be as they defined it, like a bold type of video game.
Yeah, I couldn't make out what was happening. To be honest, like I thought it felt like two reveals. Like the first part seemed very creative, whatever. The second part felt like almost a cinematic, really close up third person, kind of thing. And that looked cool, but I was like, okay, so what are we doing? And yeah, it's still a wait and see for me, kind of thing. I'm not really sold just yet until I get to see more proof of concept with it. But that's where I'm at.
Lone, what about you?
I was screaming at the dude on the TV to tell us what the game was. And Jeff was trying to tease it out, and he kept being like, it's a game for the players and they can do it. And I'm just like, just tell me what it is. I initially got the NFT energy, but then they said that it's been in development for 5 years. So I don't know whether that it's at some stage it could be incorporated. But I wish that they just would have gone into a little bit more detail as to what I was actually looking at. Because it was so, even Jeff has said he was confused. Jeff was surprisingly honest in his very sassy ways. It was very funny.
Yeah.
They just needed to describe it. I don't care about anything else. Just tell me what I'm going to be playing. And I didn't get that. So I lost interest fairly quickly.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of publishers kind of lost the plot with how to reveal games this show, despite it being a pretty good one. There was a lot, like you mentioned, CG. There's something like this where it was just a lot of nothing, vague comments, and it wasn't a good start to the show. But afterwards, we learned about Dune Awakening, which is an open world survival MMO. Are there any Dune fans here in the building?
I did like Dune. Yeah.
I did not see the movie. I've not read the book, so I don't really have much to say on this one. Lone, if you'd like to go first again, I'm curious as to what you thought about this.
I really liked the movie. I enjoyed it. Again, it's another adaptation. The one thing that I probably would have preferred it to be, how it was like on the screen, it was like open world survival, I wish it just said RPG and then it said MMO.
Yeah.
I'm not an MMO guy. Like, and I've tried them. I've tried them in the past. Like, I will speak very highly of Elder Scrolls Online as an example of an MMO that I think does it really well. But it's just not a game for me. So I would have loved to have played this as a single player game. But that being said, it's CGI, obviously, but it's a very cool concept. I enjoyed the movie, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But I don't know whether it will succeed as an MMO. I genuinely don't know.
Cog, I believe NetEase is behind this, so you might like this one. I don't know, man. They got their tendrils in you now.
Yeah, they got me with the rocket. I ain't gonna lie. I am like team NetEase right now because I like the rock. But I went Lone on this because it was like when I saw the introduction to this trailer, and I'm like, whoa, this looks nice. And I felt that like hashtag just one energy, that third person narrative over the shoulder. The character model looked good, even though it was CGI. I'm like, man, the graphic, I don't know, look like an Unreal Engine 5. This thing looked nice. And then I literally, like, your thoughts were exactly mine. And I was like, oh, what type of game it is? And it's like, MMO. And I'm like, right? And I'm not the MMO super guy. I like some live service, but I'm kind of like, nah, I didn't want that with this one. You know what I'm saying? In fairness, need to see it. But right now, I was hoping for more of a single player narrative experience with that game.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on it because I don't, kind of like with Everywhere, I didn't really know what it was. I know what type of game it is, and I like MMOs. So for me, I was more open to it seems, than you two, but I feel like we're starting to get a real surge in MMOs now, and that means that it's going to be very competitive, and it's hard for me to commit to one and my interest in it when it's so far away. Because, I speak highly of Elder Scrolls Online as well, Lone, but I also speak highly of SWTOR. I want to try Final Fantasy 14 again, try to see if I can get into what all the buzz is about. So there's a lot of options already, not including the new ones coming out. So this is one where I think they really could have benefited from some gameplay just to truly capture that early interest. After that, we saw PlayStation get into Xbox's realm a little bit. They announced the DualSense Edge controller. So this was pretty much the elite version of the PlayStation controller here. Highly customizable, premium offering. Cog, I believe you have an elite controller. Or am I mistaken? You do?
Yeah, I'm an elite.
Okay.
I always fall victim to them every time.
I was just making sure. I wanted to know what you thought because I'm not really a controller guy personally. Like as long as I can play the game. But I'm curious for you as someone who has a customizable controller, what that experience is like. How do you feel about PlayStation really getting into the peripherals lately with the monitor, with the controller? Like they're starting to expand more and more, and they've been doing this quite often as of late. So how do you feel about the new controller?
It looked okay. I mean, I wasn't like jumping up for it. I was like, all right, cool. They finally, I was like, all right, y'all did it. I do feel not to, do console war stuff, but I do feel like Xbox really goes the extra mile with the customization, the dead zones, and then for me as an FPS guy, when it comes to like competitive shooters, sometimes that hair trigger half pull is very key to me because that really, if you're in that space, you really want latency and you want to have the less ability, to shoot faster, kind of thing. I think it's like that half trigger pull as opposed to the full depress, right? So when I don't see those level of customizations, I'm like, okay, you're kind of dipping into space, but in full credit, maybe they do have it. I need to deep dive a little bit further. But from what I seen initially, it seemed like let's say a half step, but I don't know if they're going fully for the hardcore competitive guy yet. But I need to learn more about it before I make a definitive decision that they're not. But that's what I saw. I said, okay, cool, you're in the space, but I want to see more.
Right on. Lone, anything you want to say about the controller?
I mean, I don't typically pick up those customizable controllers. I'm like you, Matty. Give me a normal controller and I'm fine. I'll play with it and I'll enjoy it. I do like what PlayStation is doing with their hardware at the moment. Like you mentioned the monitor, Matty. That monitor is actually probably one of the best 4K high refresh rate monitors out on the market. It's actually very, very good, and it's still a newer market. Like it hasn't developed as much. So for Sony to come in and to produce a monitor of that quality, like I was impressed by all the reviews. I was genuinely considering buying one. I just didn't quite like the look of it. It was a bit too gamey for me. So I think I do have a lot of faith that this one would actually be really, really good. I wonder if they can use, do you know how on PS5, and I'll mention Deathloop. Deathloop was the game that used it a lot. But when the guns jam in Deathloop, how it stops, maybe that's their way of having the half trigger pull. In
Right, with the tension.
You know what I mean? It didn't quite feel the same, but possibly they could do it. So I do have a lot of faith that it's going to be good, but I just don't think I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah, same here. This one I have a lot to say about. I'm a very excited boy for this one. The Callisto Protocol shows out, spiritual successor to Dead Space. We got about 3 minutes of new gameplay. We saw a lot of new mechanics here: dodging, melee combat, reflecting, kinesis, throwing enemies into the grinder, raining blood, going down a water slide. Your character dies a gruesome Tomb Raider-esque death where he gets cut in half. This game is all sorts of fucked up, and I am all about it. Lone, you were going, so I want to hear your thoughts first on how you feel about the Callisto Protocol, man.
Man, it looks good. It looks gory. Like, I miss Dead Space. I'm probably going to pick this up day one. The one thing that I'll say that they were showing off, like, I love the throwing the enemies into the grinder. That was freaking sick. But when they started showing some of the other, like, the melee mechanics, the enemy wouldn't bloody die, and then he ended up killing the guy in the same way as the other enemies anyways. So I'm like, what was the point of you doing that for 2 minutes? It wasn't 2 minutes, but, like, you know, so it feels like the combat is going to stray to certain weapons and certain kill styles anyway. So I need to say a little bit more about that, but it's gory. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm 100% keen for it too.
What about you, Cog?
Not much to add. That thing looked fire. It looked really cool to me. I really enjoyed what I saw. And I mean, the tone, the visceral nature of it, graphically looked impressive. Yeah, man. I mean, every time I've seen it, I hear about it, I'm like, okay, keeping you right on my list. One to watch. I'll be there when you're ready.
Yeah, dude, I loved what I saw. I mean, I think we've been really itching for a Dead Space-like game, and this game has all the elements of that. Like, even the HUD on the back of the character's neck, instead of making bars all around the screen, like, those immersive qualities are carrying over. I hope the same attention to detail in the audio carries over. This game looks way more gruesome and brutal than anything we saw in Dead Space, and that was already a pretty gruesome franchise, but this one really seems to amp it up. I mean, what we saw in the initial reveal of this game was pretty scary, I thought. A lot of high tension moments. And I thought Dead Space 1 was scary. 2 was also, the first 6 chapters, pretty creepy, but it tapers off and goes more in the action direction, which is fine. That game's also superb. But I was really pleased with what I saw here, especially because they took the dismemberment mindset from Dead Space 1 and evolved it a bit. They're like, you got to shoot off those limbs, because if you don't, they'll evolve and change and get bigger, stronger, scarier. And I was thinking, like, okay, sure. They show this thing, man. This guy doesn't take him out quick enough. And you see him literally rip his skin off, and he becomes jacked, and he's coming after him again. I'm thinking, like, whoa, you got to imagine you got a couple of enemies coming after you. The tension that just organically builds there, where you got to move. And they gave you more, it seems, with the crouching, stealth, and the ability to roll, dodge, block, all that stuff. I'm thinking, like, okay, so give me the tools to fight back when you get overwhelmed as well. So I was really pleased by it. And also, just to shout out, because it's very different from Dead Space, was the stealth gameplay. Dead Space was very much, if you wanted to simplify it, you'd walk into a room and blow shit up. It was very scary while you were doing that. But otherwise, like, Dead Space never had the crouching, the stealth, taking out the shiv, taking them out from behind. So I was pleased to see that gameplay diversity, the stealth options before poop hits the fan, or perhaps the garbage can, depending on where you live. After that, we learned about, this was a really weird one, the Lords of the Fallen. So for those who don't have the history on this, there's Lords of the Fallen, which came out in, I believe, and I'll check this real quick, 2014. This is like a Souls-like game, one of the first of its kind, believe it or not, before we saw a lot more attempts at it. And it was an okay game. So a lot of people thought if there was going to be another one, it'd be a sequel. And what they're doing is calling it The Lords of the Fallen. So there's now officially Lords of the Fallen and The Lords of the Fallen. And they are from the same team, same publisher, all that stuff, which is fascinating. But I don't know, have either of you played this game at all? The original, I should say. So I did. And it was, again, kind of, it's just your B-tier Souls clone. Like, you liked it. You enjoyed it if you're a big Souls fan like me, but it was not of the quality and the fairness of what FromSoft brings to the table. And we're starting to see the gap slim a little bit with a competitor that was also in this list here that we got to talk about.
Oh yeah, I think I know which one.
Neo kind of slims that gap where I think they're on the same level, quite frankly. Koei Tecmo, I think they do a really good job balancing their games and making them fun. And in this case, in the case of Neo, more approachable, but still very tough. But what we saw here from Lords of the Fallen was another CG trailer, so we didn't get a vibe of the gameplay. Yeah. It looks really gritty, really serious, though. There was something with the lantern involved in this trailer where you were almost absorbing souls from your enemies, it looked like. You saw your character die, come back to life. Enemies, like, literally respawned in the trailer. So they were really selling the concept of we're souls like. So I don't know if there was much more to take away from that, but I'm curious if you guys have anything else to say on the matter.
Just conceptually, it looks nice. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, it looks cool what they're trying to do, but until I see the gameplay and get more of it, then I'll be able to make a more informed decision. It just, they chose to go this route with it just to say, I guess it's coming. And I'd say I don't really have much to say because I don't have any history with the franchise, so it's not like I played it before, so I could say. So, what did you think, Lone?
Exact same, like CG trailer. I need to see a little bit more. I do think it's interesting that we are seeing so many more Souls games, being announced and starting to come out. I feel like every dev out there has been inspired by Elden Ring, and rightly so, because it's an incredible game. So I'm interested to see, especially like with that lantern mechanic. I'm interested to see how this progresses the Souls genre, because it is a genre now. So yeah, keen to see more.
Absolutely. After that, we do get some gameplay here for a pretty good stretch. Moving Out 2 was shown next. Indie game. This is the sequel for it, coming out in 2023. Kind of has Overcooked vibes. You're able to navigate through these puzzle-like rooms, moving furniture out of the house. I thought this game looked really cute. I'm really excited for it. I hope Xbox gets it on it. It has Game Pass energy. Cog, I don't know if you agree, but I really liked what I saw. Did you?
It's funny. I thought I was competing. I was like, it looked kind of cool. I was like, I don't know why the art style got me, and two people moving stuff out the house. And I thought I remember seeing it early at another showcase or something. I remember seeing it or hearing about it. And I was like, this could work. So yeah, I got my eye on this one in the cut. Let's see if Microsoft gets involved with it, if they their team picks up an idea at Xbox or something. But yeah, I like what I saw.
Moan, how about you?
Yeah, it looks cute. It looks fun. I have more of an attachment to it because it's SMG Studios involved, which is an Australian studio. So I like to see them.
Team.
You know what I mean? Like, you always have that attachment.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to. I probably will play it maybe with my wife when it launches. It looks like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, now we got to talk about Hog Leg.
Yeah.
Right in here from On Mason. Says, hey, Dukes, quick question regarding Hogwarts Legacy. I don't know why y'all write in Hogwarts Legacy. Hog Leg.
You try to make it that. I love that. It's Hog Leg.
Hog Leg. How in the world is this thing going to release on last gen? With a project this ambitious, it seems like this would only hinder the game. Given everything we have seen, plus a 2023 release date, wouldn't it make sense to scrap the last gen version altogether? Best, Sean M. So we got another good look at Hog Leg. And I'm curious what you guys feel about this one, because as a guy who can't get into Harry Potter, this game looks good, but it's not awakening like any excitement in me. What it should be, because again, just as a video game, it looks good, but since it's tied to an IP, I literally don't care about it. I'm having a lot of trouble with this one, and I feel like it may have the Guardians of the Galaxy effect on me, where once I play it, I didn't like Guardians that much of the movies, but when I played the game, I went, okay, I get this cast now. I understand why people love it. I'm all about it. But I don't really have that with Harry Potter after, reading a book, watching the movies. I still can't get that connection. I think it's because I can get into this in a separate time, but the world is generally uninteresting to me. But I'm curious how you guys are feeling about Hogwarts Legacy. Cog, please go first, because you seemed a little surprised when I wasn't too hot on this one.
No, it's funny though. We kind of share the same history. Like, I am not, for the record, a Harry Potter guy. Like, I don't watch the movies. I don't like it. The universe never drew me, and I understand how huge it is. It's just one of those things I just never could really get into. However, this game looks cool. Like, this game's like, oh, I'll pay attention now. I want to know. I want to do this. It looks cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a part of me that says, well, maybe if I play this, maybe I'll have an appreciation the way the fandom does. But everything, every time I've seen it, even from the whole university setting, the learning the spells and stuff like that, they're staying true to, I guess, the core components of what the different schools. What is it, Slytherin and this one and that one, and it looks cool, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, it's something about it. The little wizardry is drawing me. And graphically, it looks nice. And I always tell people to get a guy like me who's not into the lore, the game could be the way. Especially if you present well and it looks like the core mechanics are there. So yeah, I'm interested. And I liked what I saw.
How about you, Lone?
I'm all in, man. I'm a Harry Potter fan. To be clear,
so you're the guy.
Yeah, okay. I haven't read like all the books, but I love the movies that much that when I saw this, I was like, this looks legit. Even my wife, who is way more hardcore Harry Potter, she's read everything, she's watched everything. This is a game which she was like, I'm actually interested in. She does not play video games, right?
Oh, it's big.
Yeah, it's like massive. So I'm really sold on it. It looks like the graphics look phenomenal. The storyline as well, it allows us to explore a lot of the concepts that are almost in some ways just touched upon in the movies. Books are obviously different, but in the movies, for instance, being in class, learning spells, that they really do go over that very quickly, especially in the first one or two movies. Whereas in this, the entire concept of this, you're a student coming in who actually get to learn spells, be in that universe. And plus, it's the casting of spells, it's the fights, the duels. That's also something that, if you really think about it in the Harry Potter movies, it's touched upon not that often. Like we have maybe like a couple of really cool fights, Dumbledore against Voldemort. And even that only lasts for a couple of minutes. And this is like, it's a video game, so we need to have that. It needs to be fun. So I'm really keen at just casting a bunch of spells, learning a bunch of stuff. I'm all for it, man. This is going to allow me, I think, I might even like, I can't say that I'm going to enjoy these more than the movies, but there are aspects of it which you can't really explore in a movie, but you can do so in a video game. So let's go, bro. I'm in.
Nice. See, that's cool. I think that's dope when the fans of the franchise are like, yo, I'm hype. I'm impressed.
Yeah. And look, I think it's partly as well, like that Harry Potter as a franchise, there's been a few controversies happen in recent times. The whole J.K. Rowling thing, the whole Johnny Depp thing with the new movies, Fantastic Beasts, like that it's been hard, I think, as a Harry Potter fan to enjoy the franchise. And I can understand that no matter which side of the equation you fall on. The fact that if this is good, it's another thing for them to celebrate. I'm hoping that they knock it out of the park because I would love this thing to succeed and see more games.
Yeah, I am too, because the series needs a win, just a clear win, like no controversy attached to it. I would like to see that personally, and I was interested by what they did show here, like mechanically speaking. It was nice to see them kind of insinuating there might be choice and consequence. They were talking about like dark arts, and I was thinking like, oh, I wonder if you can just be an evil wizard. That'd be. Actually
I hope so. That'd be freaking sick.
Because the game looks so ambitious. I'm like, I'm wondering how. It's the same thing I feel about Starfield. Like, how much can you do? Like, how far can you go with my role playing, with my choices? Because when you're already making this big open world and you can't pull off content as frequent, then what does it become? So I like the idea because I like the boldness too. They commented on Twitter that was just an optional side quest. It was for apparently their companion quest in the game. So there are elements from like my love of RPGs that I'm seeing here. I'm like, okay, like. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. I think I just need to keep the open mind. I'm not blowing it off at all. I just need to give it a shot, though. I was already planning on it, but I feel like I could see myself really loving this game. I just feel because I don't have that attachment to the IP, I'm at the same position as I would be with a standard open world game of, oh, this looks cool. All right. But when I play it and I get in there and maybe get more intimate with all the qualities that make a Harry Potter universe, that's where I could fall in love with it and grow an appreciation for the franchise. So I think Cog, you and I are on the same page, just in different areas. So I am looking forward to this one. It's coming out in February. They're sticking with that release date, and it's looking like one of the most anticipated games heading into the new year. Afterwards, this one was leaked. It's now been confirmed. New Tales from the Borderlands. Who was that? I was on my script. Who was that? Who was about to sigh?
I don't know if that was low that was saying.
No, a little bit. But
okay. No, I'm with you. No, I'll get my thoughts out of the way quickly. I saw this game and I was like, yeah, look, I'm starting to feel like Borderlands may have been a flash in the pan. and I'm just accepting it now. It's always a fun series. 1, 2, and 3 are all fun games. 1 and 2, though, were very special experiences. Like 1 was a game that when it came out, there was nothing quite like this. It was this loot-driven, highly replayable video game with a dark world, but some dark comedy as well. And it made you feel all types of things. And then Borderlands 2 takes it a step further with a magnificent story, like actual shocking moments, utilizing the cast from the previous game and giving them life. They did so many right things with that game on top of its DLC. It felt like it was only up from there, especially with the original Tales from the Borderlands. And I feel like the series has been on a really steady decline since Borderlands 3, especially story-wise. And that's why I'm not too into new Tales from the Borderlands, is we're looking at a game here that its sole purpose is to tell an interesting story. And that hasn't happened for me since 2012, which I'm feeling my age now was a decade ago. So I really can't get behind a game in the Borderlands universe that's all about the story. Because I could get into Borderlands 3 and even to a lesser extent, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, because I'm thinking, okay, at the core is a Borderlands game, and Borderlands is fun, right? So the gameplay loop could be fun, but I can't get behind just a story-driven Borderlands game anymore. I typically would be about it, but this one I'm holding off on. I'm curious if either of you are on the same page. Lone, you were half sighing, you're a little unsure, maybe, I don't know. So I want to know what your gauge is on this new announcement.
Look, I love Borderlands. I like you, Matty. Love Borderlands 1, love Borderlands 2. Borderlands 3, a lot of fun gameplay, but it just didn't have the same magic as the previous games. I actually really enjoyed Wonderlands. I thought it was, yeah, it's a very fun game, at least like when on your first run. The end game is where it falls short. Like it had, at least the last time I played it, it had a lot of work to do. I dropped it fairly quickly after that. But I thought the fact that it was like its own kind of imaginary world, that it could have a little bit more fun with the storytelling and the characters, even though Borderlands is already wacky, right?
Right.
So I actually really enjoyed Wonderlands. This, though, this is not like the story and this kind of stuff is not what gets me excited about Borderlands. It's the fun gameplay. At the end of the day, that's why you're playing. The loot and shoot, you're getting the awesome rare weapons, the colors are everywhere. That's what makes me excited. Mm-hmm. And the story, even though like Borderlands 1 and 2, like they were better than the recent ones, it's not like what draws me to the franchise. So when that's all that it is, I even as a Borderlands fan, I don't know if I'm going to play this game.
Yeah. What about you, Cog? I mean, Destiny guy rolling into Borderlands, old stomping grounds, maybe. You see a new narrative game pop up. Are we in? Are we out?
I mean, it's weird with me because I think I'm probably one of the few here that actually like the first one a lot. I like Tales of the Borderlands a lot. And I like the character that they introduced. Was it Reese or something like that? And it was hilarious. I really, this was during the Telltale phase. This was during that phase and those games are coming out. That being said, this one didn't move me. It wasn't, I wasn't like, yo, I got to get into it. And maybe because I had the connection with the first character a lot, I really liked the story. It was absolutely hilarious. So yeah, I don't know, man. And then I think with the first one too, we had the Handsome Jack kind of backstory, so you got a little bit with him. But yeah, with this one, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm in on this one all the way.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Same here. What I am in on, and I have been in on since day fucking one, baby.
Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers.
There you go.
Shows up. Look, this is coming from a Sonic hater. That hate was spawned from the modern games. I've gone back. I played the older ones. I still have a strong dislike for the modern ones. I replayed Forces for a video on Retro Rebound. That hatred still lives on. This game has always and still does look really good, and it is moved up as probably my most anticipated game of the year. Like, I am really looking forward to Sonic Frontiers. I think the vibe of the game is much more serious in tone. I think it's because of, again, the writer, Ian Flynn. He's been doing the IDW comics for Sonic, which are apparently a much more gritty tone. You could just tell by Sonic's voice in the trailer. I was like, okay, like, he's not like Amy. He's like, Amy, like, he had like a raspiness. Like, Sonic, what you been through, bro? And they were saying, you can't keep running, Sonic. Like, they said that this is going to be a more serious game, and I'm feeling that. And You saw more diverse locales. I think my biggest worry with Sonic Frontiers does sit in the gameplay. It looks very much like hit the bounce pads, hit the dash pads, and you're good. It's still built for kids, where I think that the level design needs to evolve beyond that. But I'm about it, man. I'm a day oneer for this game. November 8th. It's going up against God of War. The balls on the blue blur. I love it.
Head to head.
I love
challenge.
It. I know where I'm gonna be. See you later, Kratos. Catch you in another month. I'm playing with the blue blur. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. That's the funny part.
Cool.
You dead serious? That's the funny thing.
Yeah. I know that'll turn into fanboyism, but I've realized, with Xbox, like the pressure's on to be playing a lot of games because so much shit's coming to Game Pass. That like I can wait to get into these PlayStation exclusives. Like I haven't played Horizon yet, but I'm looking forward to when I do. I don't have to play God of War right away. I have this option in this one aspect of my life, because PlayStation doesn't give me review codes either, so I don't really need to rush to it in that regard either. So it's just like, okay, like,
definitely clipping this now.
No, I'm just saying I don't have to rush to them anymore. I feel you. It's nice to have an avenue of content. It's the same thing with like some of the Nintendo games, my Weeb games. It's like, I just get to enjoy these when I want, like a normal person. So Sonic is up first for me. I know you both aren't on the same page, but did you like what you saw?
Look,
how do you lay it down? Apparently, how do we tell them?
I don't mind. Like, I obviously played Sonic as a kid, right?
Yeah.
I really like what they've done with the movies, right? So I'm not like the biggest. I'm just laying the platform. I'm not the biggest Sonic fan, but I do enjoy the media when it pops up. I don't know if this is for me. That's my honest opinion. As you said, Matty, same day as God of War, I'm playing God of War. It's just,
of course.
And then when you play God of War, it takes you X amount of hours. By the time you finish it, there's probably another new game out, and then I think Sonic's going to be that game just kind of fades away from me, unless your review changes my mind, Matty.
Oh yeah. I don't know if any positive review could change minds. I think a lot of people have made up their mind on Sonic Frontiers. Cog, have you? Are you going in with the open mind? Will the blue blur win you over one day?
Look, I'm a Sega kid. Y'all know that. Yeah. Sonic and all that. Of course. Like, it doesn't look bad. It looks cool. It's just that, why the hell are you going up against God of War? Like, what are you doing? Like, someone needs to you got to have that talk with your friend. Like, bro, that's not it. Let's move it back.
He's about to fight the dude bigger than him.
Yeah, like I know you got. Yeah, it's like we could do it. We got the movies. We got the cachet. We're like, no, you're not. No, don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Let's have a talk. We'll push you back. That's my only thing. That's literally upset me. I'm like, I'm going to try this game, but not during Atreus and Kratos outside.
Of course, I get it.
I give you credit though, man. That's bold for you to say. You were like, yo, I'm playing Sonic on that day. Like,
it goes back to the original God of War when I played it in 2018. I think it's an excellent game. It's just not my favorite PlayStation exclusive.
Not fair.
In a lot of ways, this is not a definitive statement, so please no one clip this. I do like a lot of aspects of the original 3 more than the
You're like King.
Yeah.
King is the same way. That's his Kratos. That action level. Like, I know what you're going.
The characterization that they gave him in the reboot was excellent, but I almost feel like in a way I didn't need to care about Kratos. Like, I love God of War 3. That's my favorite God of War game because you literally go on a rampage all game, popping eyeballs, pressing the L3 and R3 at the same time on what is it, Pegasus or something like that. It just you do some wild stuff in that game. That's my favorite rendition of the God of War. But I get why this is more for people. So that's why I'm not in a rush. Like I went and got the platinum for the first game. And when I did, I saw more flaws. I think a lot of people didn't go as deep as they should have with that game because that game was unbalanced. Like when you got into the deeper content, the Valkyrie fights were terrible. So I soured on the game a little bit over time. But the story was solid, and I'm looking forward to playing. It's just that, like to me, Sonic looks refreshing. It doesn't look like anything else out there. It by the brand alone, it has to play differently. So I'm gravitating towards that one. But I'm looking forward to write-ins. Yeah, they're. I mean, you guys are too kind to me.
Coming for you. They're coming for you. There's no doubt.
Let's keep rolling. We still have a lot more to go through. Some of these we can be pretty quick about, like Under the Waves. I feel we don't have much to say on. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I mean, it's Quantic Dreams.
Shame.
We didn't really get a gauge on this game. It's just a dude walking around underwater. Looks like a typical third-person adventure game, maybe. I couldn't really tell.
None either.
Same.
Then we saw gameplay for Goat Simulator 3. This game is off the chain. Car combat. There's like fighting mini games. This trailer won me over. I kind of want to play it. I've never been a Goat Simulator guy, but I want to try it after seeing this.
But isn't this the same day as God of War and Sonic?
Oh, is it really? Oh no! I'm out.
Oh, you out now?
November 17th,
third
right?
place is. No, I think November 8th is God of War and Sonic. Is this 17th?
Oh, so it's very similar. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's not enough time. I'm going to be putting my real hours into Sonic Frontiers. Unless, hey, I just thought of this. I don't mean to exercise my privilege here, but I'm just saying that, like, if I get a review code for Sonic and I get that done in advance, then maybe I get to God of War on launch day and the slander doesn't have to happen. We'll see.
There you go.
Yeah. Then Goat Simulator 3.
Yeah. Real back-to-back energy here. But did you guys like what you saw with Goat Simulator 3?
Cool. It looks funny. It looks wacky. It's the essence of what it is. I mean, those games I don't really gravitate towards those type of games, but I get it. Right? It's just over the top.
Same. I feel like you need to be a fan. Like I still can't get over the fact that it's not called Goat Simulator 2. It's just typical them. It's typical them. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun for a laugh, but it's not something that I'm super excited about.
All right, next one. Cog, this is more you since you're 75 years old. Return to Monkey Island. Return to Monkey Island. It's back. It's back. How do you feel about this one?
Listen, I'm an old head. I own it, bro. I think that was the first PC game I've ever played. Monkey Island. Yeah, that was the first one. So I'd never experienced PC. I thought it was cool, for a time. It did something to make me learn and try to figure out, a mystery or whatever. Of course, the nostalgia means gotta see what's going on. The funny thing is, right? Yeah, I heard they're getting dragged on social media, prior for whatever reasons, decisions. So, I'm gonna check it out, what's going on. This is something that is clearly just for me. I feel I have a large reception, you know what I'm saying? But I'll be interested to see what they do. What's the spin?
Yeah, Lone, how are you feeling about Return to Monkey
Same
Island?
as you, man. Like I don't have that nostalgia. I didn't play the original. It just doesn't interest me. I thought at the very least, the way they did the trailer with the marketing guy was fun.
Lockmore always messages me when anything new with this game comes out. He's been really pushing for me to do a retro rebound on this game, and I'm like, part of retro rebound is I just talk about things that I have played, like that were part of my childhood, and it happens to overlap with everyone else's childhood. I was like, Monkey Island I wasn't even a thought at that point. I was just floating in the stream, man.
I'll feel you.
Moonbreaker. This one's up next, and Cog, this question is for you. Doric Ivskim writes in, "Hey, Dukes. So, developers behind Subnautica have revealed Moonbreaker, which seems to me like a Cog-ass game. The developer himself described it as XCOM meets Hearthstone with Guardians of the Galaxy / Firefly vibes. So, am I on the money here? If not, what's the highlight of ONL for you guys? Keep up the good work." So, Cog, Moonbreaker is outside. I was thinking of you as well. And by the way, we need to normalize more developers describing their games by using other games. It's totally okay. You don't have to reinvent the formula. It's an open world action game. I would love it if more games said, we saw Breath of the Wild. We thought that was cool, so we kind of did something like that. But, Cog, I'm curious for you, of course, because the question dictates, what do you think of Moonbreaker?
Yeah, no, it looked good. It's I'm team turn based, so I'm loving what I saw. And like you said, like just mixing XCOM, a little bit of this. It all gave me a little Demio energy with the way.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be a Demio style game at first. Yeah.
At first, I thought it was going to be like a Demio, a little bit of dungeon and car stuff. But now I like it. I'm definitely in. This speaks to my sensibilities big time. So I'm going to give it a shot.
I'm there with you. Lone, how about you?
Personally, no, but I do want to give a shout out to the whole being able to paint the miniature. Like I think that's cool. Like it actually, I can't actually speak to any game that does that. Like, is there any game that has tried to capture the magic of painting miniatures?
No, I don't think. And it's cool because it's very board game focused as like the design of the game shows. So it matches perfectly.
I think it's a great little feature. Like, honestly, if you're into that, that's freaking cool.
Yeah. And it looks very accessible. Like they said, it's not going to be something along the lines of Photoshop. They mentioned how you just click a piece and you can color over it. That makes it much more appealing for someone like me. So,
well,
I
and
did
they
like
said that's the tool that they use. I believe they said this. That's the tool that they use to paint the miniatures as well. So like it's the exact same tool that I think so. Like someone correct me on that, please. But I believe that's what he said.
Right on. After this was Friends versus Friends, which looked like a little bit of, I would say, neon white energy. You had first-person shooting with a card game involved. A very brief showing because there was this highly animated preview, and then it cut to gameplay very quickly, and it was over as soon as it came. So is there anything you both have to say on this one?
No, unfortunately.
All right.
Not much to add.
So I think we move on to one we all should have some thoughts on.
Yeah.
Lies of P. This is a dark retelling of the story of Pinocchio, day one on Game Pass. Souls-like, Bloodborne-inspired. Inject this shit into my veins, bro. This looks so good. And then IGN posted 13 minutes of gameplay on it. I'm like, okay, let's see it really running. I can't get over how good this looks. I can't believe it's going to be day one on Game Pass. I feel so many people would have happily paid for this if it came to Xbox. This was such a smart get. I can't begin to stress it. Xbox probably saw the Souls-like hype, and they got in on absolutely the next big one there. Little funny thing, though, is that this won PlayStation Game of the Show, even though I feel that the Xbox Association was much stronger with Game Pass, but that's whatever at the end of the day. It's kind of a nothing award. But Lies of P, I have a lot to say on this one, but I want to start with you, Cog. How do you feel about this? I know you didn't get in on the Elden Ring as much. You did it for a stream. So Souls-like, I don't think speaks to you much, but do you think that Lies of P is something that could pull you in, or how do you just feel about the move by Xbox?
Absolutely. Y'all know I'm not the Souls guy. As the older gent in the room, not the Souls guy. But I will, because that was my thing. Like Elden Ring, I get it. Like I love what it's doing. I love it's kind of like it's not ashamed to be who it is and not hold your hand. And I get it. But I'm always going to have issues with the fact that it's the slow thudding pace, right? Mm-hmm. So when I see these type of games like Lies of P, like I like that. I like stylish and I like faster, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yo, this looks cool. And then I speak to my Bloodborne guys and they like, this is what we want, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, this is the type of things. And then for me, while I might really try this one, first, obviously it's in Game Pass, but outside of that, it looks cool. You talk about the story of Pinocchio in a Dark Souls game with
Bloodborne. That's what's crazier. Like we've been begging for a Bloodborne style game, and they're doing it with a Pinocchio game. I love it. The automaton focus of the enemy design. It's really, really cool.
And that puppet jiggity stuff, it looked creepy. Like it looked like, yo, I'm scared. I want to get in on that. Like, yeah, like I don't want to get too excited because I'm not the Souls guy, but this is the one I'm going in open-minded and I'm going to try this. This looks cool all the way around. I love the art. I love the aesthetic. It's just very cool.
Lone, you're playing Elden Ring right now, so you got that Souls DNA in your veins. Mm-hmm. What do you think about what you saw from Lies of P?
Man, looks, as Cox said, looks phenomenal. The aesthetic really has drawn me in. So I genuinely think this is something that I'll be playing day one. The thing that I really like about it is like the reimagining of Pinocchio, because I'm sure a lot of us grew up with it, right? And we love that story. The fact that it's in the public domain and devs can do something like this. I don't know if you saw the recent news about the Winnie and Pooh horror movie thing. Because it's public domain, that's why they're able to do this. I don't think they actually have any agreement with Disney or whatever, whoever owns it. I think that's what's going on here, which is why they're calling it the Lies of P. And they might not actually refer to Pinocchio by name, but it's the same world. Okay. But they're allowed to because like it's in public domain. And so long as they're not depicting Pinocchio as he is in Disney's media, then it's okay. So I think that's a really cool thing. Like I'm interested to see how they tell that story, especially one that we grew up with as a kid and how messed up it is. And as you said, I'm sold on the Dark Souls kind of genre at the moment. So I'm interested.
Yeah, and that's the interesting aspect of this conversation is we're talking about the story. You never talk about the story in these Souls-like games, and I think that's one thing it's really got going for it is it has a wonderful looking world space, but even with that, you have a story concept that harkens back to something many of us have experienced, re-experiencing that in a dark way. You see Pinocchio and Geppetto facing off at the end of the trailer. like, whoa,
it's cool, isn't it?
Else.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's good.
So
I
just love the story is something that's attracting us. It's really rare for these types of games. It's always, oh, the universe is cool. It's an excuse to make these cool weapons and these cool enemies. So I love that when I watched the game, I thought, oh, the story, this could be really good. And that could bring it to a new level. But I mean, it looks high quality. It's coming from a Korean game studio. So on that note, Xbox continues to expand its opportunities beyond the West, which I love to see. This is something they've struggled with. So this was a really, really smart get for them. I'm sure they were all over us when they saw it. And I can't blame them, man. This looks fantastic. I am counting down to whenever it comes out because they only gave us 2023. But this game looks fantastic, and I cannot wait to see. After that, we got Stranded Alien Dawn, another CG trailer. And, just again, this is a bit of a roller coaster of a showcase, but what was there, the highs were like Lies of P, really high. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have anything to throw out there. I couldn't even tell what the hell this game was.
Neither. This was the time with the show where I was like, enough with the CG trailers. Like, come on.
Yep. And we kind of got that feeling again with Atlas Fall, and we get a long CG trailer. And at the end, they show a snippet of gameplay of a man like sandboarding around. It looked co-op Monster Hunter style. Someone defined it perfectly in my chat. They said, this is what Godfall, it looks like what Godfall should have been.
Yeah.
And it had that energy. We had generic look, shiny armor, gold, right? It just looked very much unimaginative. And I said when I was watching it, I'm getting Outriders vibes. Like Outriders was very, it's weird to say because it's one of my top 5 games of the year, but it was creatively unimaginative. But when you played it, the bombastic, kinetic nature of the game is what really sells it. And I'm hoping that this is the case here. So I liked what briefly we saw, but it wasn't enough to really get all behind it.
Agree?
Yeah, I agree as well. The vibes that I got were Monster Hunter. I don't know if it's going to be like the game, but it looks really cool and fun.
100%. Homeworld 3. Saw that again. Anything we want to throw out there for that? Nothing?
Not from me. No, it's just not a... I will say this, though. Like, God, there's a lot of space style games at the moment.
Yeah, isn't there?
I was running a joke at the last... What was the last show that we had? And there was like 10 space games that we counted. I can't remember what it was. It was an Xbox Bethesda showcase potentially.
Yeah, I think
so many space games. So
it's such a fun. It's such a fun concept to explore because I think is like, creatively speaking, you have the excuse to do anything within that genre, and I feel like I'm all for it. I'm a sci-fi geek, so I'm all for it. I love that we're seeing more sci-fi because originally it was just Mass Effect. It felt like. And now we're getting a lot of them because I think people are seeing, oh, this should be explored more, and there's different ways you could do it. But if you're just out in space yet, it's a little tiresome, as we'll talk about in a moment. But afterwards, we saw Genshin Impact 3.0 update and Honkai Star Rail. You'll be surprised to know for a Japanese-style game, I don't have really anything to say on this one.
Matty.
I'm shocked.
I'm not a Genshin Impact guy.
I was waiting for a full exposition on this part.
No. I humbly pass on this one. I'm okay. I'm not into the Hoyoverse and the gacha games. I'm okay.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm shocked by that.
I have some restraint in my body.
Nah, I'm with you, Matty. I'm with you. I've not played Genshin. I have a couple of friends that have tried to get me into it. I just don't think it's for me.
I have a friend who I'm close with, and he loves this game. He's like, try. That's all I hear. Try. And I'm like, dude, I did try it when it first came out. I'm sure it's much better now, but I'm just, the last thing I need when I want a big JRPG kick, I said, was just a JRPG live service game. I think that'll just do me more harm than good, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly,
though, I'm really into what's next here. High on Life.
Oh, yeah, here we go. I'm just gonna sit down.
Oh man,
use my mic.
You want to talk about great humor in a video game that just matches my vibe? You've heard my mouth all podcast. I love a little cursing. I love a little toilet humor in there. And I've never watched Rick and Morty. I'm not really interested in it, but if this is what the humor is like, I might have to give it a look because this game looks hilarious. The weapon, talking with the boss like, shut the fuck up, like just really getting pissed at the weapon. You pull out the knife is spazzing out. He's like, come on, just let me get in there. Just let me slice him in half. I love the energy of this game. On the gameplay side of things, it looks about what I expected. Very AA energy, but the writing is really lifting things up. I kind of like the web swinging, the rope swinging, grapple hook. Actually, I think would be the better term for it. That the game had. This still is firmly cemented in one of my most anticipated games of the year. That delay hurt me a little bit because I'm just like, man, I thought it was so soon. It's not until December 16th, one of the last games of the year, that we do get our hands on it. So I'm excited to eventually play it. This kind of firmed that up. And I hope we get to see more exploration gameplay. I thought it was strange that they showed a boss fight of all things.
Yeah.
But Cog, I know you've heard me talk about this game a lot. How are you feeling about High on Life? Day one Game Pass.
Yeah, definitely. I got my eye on it. Definitely interested. I love the unique take to it. I love what it tried to do with the space. I will say there's a lot of controversy about this review.
I did read about that. Yeah, a lot of people thought it might get annoying.
Yeah, a lot of people who I know were high on Life saw this and were like, "Oh, I don't know. I might be out now."
Oh,
I was like, "Really?" So there is a split in your community, Matty. Like some people were like, they did not like this. Me personally, I liked it. I thought it was funny as hell. I love when the knife came out. I was like, yeah, let me get it. Like it's just doing something like breaking that wall, right? And it's just like doing something unique. And I like what I saw. But I will give you this. The only thing I didn't like, I did feel engine wise, it didn't feel as strong in that particular encounter as it did prior. So that's the only, like, if I had to nitpick, but it still didn't diminish my thing in the game. Like, oh, no, now I'm out. But I saw people like, oh, no, now I'm out. And I'm like, wow, I didn't, that's interesting to me how the reaction was.
I was surprised as well. A lot of comments saying, oh, I could see the talking weapons getting annoying. And I didn't think it seemed like a repetitive thing. It sounded like dialogue between, instead of the player character and the boss, it was the weapon and the boss, which I personally enjoyed. But Lone, I don't know your thoughts on this game. So how do you feel about High on Life?
Look, like when it started and it was just the gun, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a cringe game. I can't get into it, no way. When the knife came out, I laughed so hard. It was the funniest thing that I've heard. Can we swear on this podcast? I never asked.
Have you heard me?
Dude.
Don't pay me no mind.
He was like,
you do what you do.
And he had this real Aussie accent, right? So I immediately attached to that. He's like, oh, fucking cut his asshole, you fuck. And I laughed so fucking hard. It was genuinely hilarious. I don't know if either of you watched the new Mortal Kombat movie, but the actor that played... Oh, you do. The actor that played Kano.
I watched it.
Yeah.
When I played Kano, it's him.
Dude, the Aussie guy, he carried that movie. Everything that he said was fucking gold. I feel like that dagger in this movie could be like that, or in this game could be like that for the entire game. The gameplay, I don't think this was the strongest thing that they could have shown. It seemed very swing, and the swinging didn't even look that intuitive. It was just like very basic swinging. The little birds or whatever they were, they stayed in the same place. You get above the sludge, drop back down, attack the boss a bit more. It seemed kind of repetitive. I think they should have shown something else. But that dagger just sold this fucking thing on me, man. Yeah. So funny. I surprised as to how much I actually laughed at that. I felt like such a child.
I was cracking up during it going, I know humor is different for everyone, and this is my kind. Like the cursing, the grotesqueness of it all. I don't know. I think it's just because of the movies I watched as a kid. You know, I love My Cousin Vinny. Like, you know, just the Joe Pesci. Just that's my guy, man.
I respect it.
All right, The Expanse, a Telltale series. So Telltale's back. They showed off a interesting game, another space game. It would seem. I have not seen The Expanse. Is another one that I've been recommended quite often. But I was originally complaining because I thought, like, isn't this what killed Telltale? Was, you know, taking a popular series and deciding, okay, we're going to make a game based off of it. So when I saw it, I thought maybe we get more of what Telltale was, but I saw actual third person walking around. It looked like an actual video game, and that was pretty cool to see. So I was interested in this one after its reveal. Not reveal, sorry, this was another showing of it, but I'm curious what you guys feel about this one.
For me, I'm in the middle. I mean, I'm a walking simulator guy, which I don't mind them. But, like, I don't know. It's one of those ones. I like that they try to move around and do different things. But I don't know, the engine, I don't know. I'm in the middle with it. Like, I want to like it, but something seemed just a slightly missing that I'm all in. Like, yes, I'm hyped for this. So I don't know what you feel, though.
I really feel like with this style of game that you need to love the base IP. and I tried to get into the Expanse. It lost both mine and my wife's interest like 5-6 episodes in. So when I don't have the interest, like the attachment to the characters and to the world, do I want to play a game that's totally focused on that for the most part? I just don't know. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I get it.
Cog, time for you to answer a bell again, man. This is your era. Killer clowns from outer space. I heard this is an 80s B-tier movie. I'm sorry, Cog. Am I being mean to you this episode? Oh,
I love it. A-shaming is hilarious. No, I'm good.
I had the other screen up, so when it was silent, I was like, oh no, what did I do?
Nah, you good. Nah, I love this. That's hilarious. I mean, it's my era, of course. It's gonna evoke some feeling, but again, game, genre. What are we doing? What's really going on?
Yeah, like an asymmetrical multiplayer game or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like they gave brief synopsis of it. I mean, it looked okay. I just need to see more. That was just kind of my theme for kind of some of these trailers and stuff like that. Yeah. But it will resonate with a lot of people. Just that actual LP.
As you said, like, I don't know if this is an asymmetrical multiplayer game. I think I'm not sold on those types of games. I think it instantly puts them on the back foot. I remember Evolve. I remember when Doom Eternal tried to do it with their multiplayer, and it just never really took off. If that's what it is, it's very hard to get right. It's so hard to get right. Yeah. So yeah.
No, you're on the money. I agree. Scars Above, sci-fi game again. This one did have some gameplay. Tomb Raider vibes for me personally. And I know Tomb Raider is a popular topic around LSM for certain reasons. But I'm curious, Cog, what did you think of Scars Above?
Like that. I like the aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? It looked cool. You know what I'm saying? That little beast thing that she was fighting out there in the thing I liked. It looked cool. Again, very short slice, right? So it's just like I'm trying to form an opinion on short slices. But I will say I felt like, yes, I do want to know more about this, though. I felt like, okay. Nice, decent impression, but need to get deeper with it as they reveal more.
Lone, what about you?
Same here. Like, it need to see more. The thing that I will say is that it reminded me. I don't know if you ever watched the Arrival movie. It seems like they watched that movie and decided to make their own video game version of it. So I really like that movie too, and I'm getting a lot of similar vibes. So this is one that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on for sure.
Right on. After this, we saw a game. This was the most concept game of concept games there. Clearly like a hiring trailer, just put into a showcase. Literally. Because I remember when I was streaming it, I lean up in my chair. I pull the chair in. I lean forward because it says from the creators of Fallout 3, Fallout 4, New Vegas, Dragon Age. I'm like, yo, that's like everyone I care about right now. Okay, what do we got here? And they show this concept of it looks like almost a Viking RPG. It's called Weir Song. I'm not actually 100% sure how to pronounce it, but it was a brief snippet of what could be something pretty cool. Apparently it's a AAA RPG, and I want to learn more because the talent sounds really good, but unfortunately nothing more to be said. So I can't develop an opinion on it. I'm just very interested, but that interest can fade quickly if what I see isn't that great.
Yeah, it felt like a developer's marketing pitch to say, "Hey, look at all these cool guys who's going to work on this cool project." And if you want to get that, that's what it felt. I mean, I feel like some of these trailers sometimes are recruitment devices. And I will say, to your point, like we don't know everything about it besides the RPG, but the roster, so to speak, the talent that they're acquiring is really impressive. So let's see.
Yeah, I think it's clear that this was a recruitment trailer. They secured funding from what I could see from NetEase for like 13 million.
NetEase with the bag.
Yeah, right. And like I worked with Jeff Gardner, who's heavily involved in this.
This is what he's involved in. I've been trying to get him on the show, and he keeps saying, "We'll talk." All right, I got to hit him back up.
I think you got to hit him back up for this. I haven't watched the interview that he did with IGN about it, talking more about it, but it sounds like a very cool setting. Yeah, of course they did. They always get the scoop. Of course. Come on, but yeah, it's like set in Portugal, which is like it's a setting you don't really see in video games, and I love Portugal. I tweeted out about this. I think every Portuguese person in my tweets just being like, I'm so excited for this. That's cool, right? The fact that you don't see a game set there often, and when they come out of the woodworks, and this is announced, it's clear that there's a lot of people are going to be excited for it just for that reason. Again, influenced by Elden Ring, I reckon Jeff and that team were probably playing Elden Ring, especially when he left BGS. So that makes sense too. And fantasy adventure set in Portugal during the Middle Ages. Like, I think it's a very, very cool concept. I'm very excited to see more, but it was a recruitment trailer. So let's see what happens. Hopefully they can kind of get some great talent and more talent involved, especially with that funding secured. There was a slightly kind of bigger discussion happening, and I was arguing with people online about it, is, well, why did they announce it? Like, I don't understand why. And people couldn't understand the concept that they do trailers like this to be able to get staff. And it's very hard when you're trying to recruit good people. They're like, oh yeah, like, we're hiring, come and join us. What are you working on? We can't tell you. Because if they tell candidates, then the word gets leaked out. You see a Kotaku article and you've ruined the magic for your first announcement. This is almost a necessary evil in the games industry so they can recruit good talent, because there's no way someone good's going to join your studio unless you can describe the game concept to them.
I am so glad you said that, because I had this fundamental argument with a lot of, even King, I go back at it on ILP, and I tell people, I said, look, I don't have a problem. I know as gamers, hardcore, we want the full synopsis of what's going on for the most part. Yeah. And conceptually, it bothers us because we don't know what's going on. But like you said, the recruitment part is important, right? Because you cannot reveal this. You cannot break this. So I understand the importance and significance of why they're there. I don't have a problem. Where only time where I align with the other side is that when I think it's okay for your first showing and your announcement.
Yeah.
But then with the subsequent, the second and the third, and you still not showing gameplay, then I got an issue at that point.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Lone, on why it's there, and I don't have a problem with the vertical slice for your first showing.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After that, we just learned about Age of Empires 4 DLC. The Ottomans and Malians are going to be there. So if you want to check that out, available for free. Then we learned about Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights got its release date moved up by a week. It's coming out October 21st now. Coincidentally, after a lot of critiquing of their combat system, we saw that there was very little combat in this trailer. They would show the animations, but not the actual gameplay ongoing. So I think they understood the message there. They can't really change much as of this point in development, so they're going to ride it out. And I'm interested in this game still. I like the idea of another team making a Batman universe style game. I love the Court of Owls. I think they're a really interesting concept. And I love seeing Red Hood in this game. I think that's really just going under the radar is a cool thing to see in video games. It's, this comic book character making it all the way to a big video game like this. The co-op nature of it has me interested. So we'll see. I think this does have the potential to not deliver, but I still remain interested. I've liked what I've seen from the world space a lot, because what's happened since Arkham City, and I guess there hasn't been many Arkham games since, but with Arkham City and Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight, they all felt like the same playground constantly, just new missions within them. And I'm excited to see something really shaking it up. It looks like this is much more expansive. You're going inside places. So I remain optimistic slightly, though, for this game, to at least enjoy it. But we'll see. I'm curious what the temperature is for both of you on this game. Cog, if you'd like to go first, how do you feel about Gotham Knights and the release date being moved up in an era of delays?
Interesting. Yeah, it's like, this is where my fandom might get me in trouble. I'm pulling for this game, but I will say what they initially showed with his gameplay probably wasn't the most impressive thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to admit my bias to wanting this thing to be good and play with Batgirl and it got Red Hood, and like I'm pulling, and I don't know how the co-op's gonna work. You know what I'm saying? I'm pulling. It may be one of those 70 kind of 5-minute games. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one of those things. My curiosity is gonna kill me. I need to know, so I'm gonna go in. But yeah, right now they're being a little weird with the reveals, and we just talked about showing me the game. But like now you're supposed to address the issue that people really got, and it's like you're back to masking and showing cool cinemas, and you're gonna suck at me, but you're not probably gonna suck at the max that are on the fence on it.
No, so, you nailed it, and this is coming from you, who's clearly a big Batman fan. For me, I like Batman, but I need to see more to be sold on it. I'm not just going to instantly be, attached to the IP, maybe like a Harry Potter for me. So for this, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play it. Like, if I'm going to play a Batman game, I would go back and play the Batman Arkham Knight and not,
Right.
I just don't see an interest
Totally.
in this.
I totally get that.
I feel you.
Fingers crossed. Cog, I got to hear your thoughts on this next one here. Where Winds Meet. It's this open world China set game. A lot of, samurai energy, a lot of ninja energy here for sure. The frame rate left a lot to be desired from what I saw in the trailer, but the man was running on water in the air. Conceptually speaking, game looks pretty cool, and I shouldn't use that word so loosely because we've seen a lot of conceptual presentations, but this game looked like it had the ideas, just not the execution quite yet. But Cog, I want to know what you thought of this game because I did think of you right away.
Yeah, this is pulling to all my sensibilities. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? This is giving me like Ghost of Tsushima / Naraka energy. I love that time period. I love that art style. Listen, you throw beautiful grass backdrops and cherry blossoms and Cog is it. So it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the aesthetic is just cool. But I have to be fair. Like, yes, there's still some technical things that I felt I saw in there that need a little work there when Winds Meet. But it looked like it had like a nice cinematic narrative feel to it, which surprised me. So I'm like, maybe there's a cool story to be told. So I'm pulling for it. I got my eye on it. Just clean up your frames.
This is interesting because I wanted to bring this up. I was reading about the game a little bit, and they said that they want to make the game with ultimate player freedom. And they said, for example, players could become ill due to harsh weather environments. As such, this player can learn medicinal abilities to become a doctor who can heal not only themselves, but also NPCs and even other players online. Other than becoming a doctor, players can choose other occupations. For example, they can become an orator who uses the power of words to convince NPCs to follow their advice. They can become an architect who builds all kinds of imaginative buildings. They can become a bodyguard who protects players or NPCs from assassins, or they could become a ferryman who takes passengers on a tour of the river. So again, I think the ideas are really here. We just got to see the execution because the game sounds ambitious. But Lone, what do you feel about where Winds Meet?
You've just got me more interested based on that description. That I didn't know.
We got him.
That sounds cool, but Cog, I'm with you. Like this kind of setting, I'm all for it. Ghost of Tsushima vibes. I got a little bit of Assassin's Creed vibes in there too. Like I think it looks really cool. I know that the frame rate wasn't the best, but God, one of the handful of games that actually showed gameplay. Like I was tipping my hat to them just for that reason. So thanks for showing gameplay. It looks beautiful. Hopefully my PC can run it. I think it will be able to. But yeah, I'm keen for it. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So I play martial arts too.
Just the sunset. I remember saying, it's beautiful. It's
beautiful.
All right, we got 5 left here, and then we're on to the next thing because it's a pretty short news week otherwise. Parks Beyond. This is not the game I imagined Bandai Namco to be publishing, but they're making like a park simulating type of game. I got that out of my system with Thrillville on the PS2, so I'm not really into this. I wonder if Dustin is, because I know when I was on ham radio at Dustin, he talked about Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, and I think he played it on his iPad. Like, he loved that game, so I wonder if he would be into Parks Beyond, but I have no idea.
Yeah, we should have Dustin.
Lone, what about you?
Neither. It's just not for me.
Yeah, same.
This not for me. Looks cool. Maybe people, but not for me.
I think my next old college try for a game like this will be 2 Point Campus. I want to try that out.
Right.
Game Pass.
Yeah, 100%.
I ain't paying for it.
So you are supporting the devs.
Just letting them drown out there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in Game Pass deals.
That's the problem, man. You're not supporting the devs.
Dorfromantic was already a game out on PC. It's coming to Switch now very shortly. Within the next month, it'll be out. And I thought this game, while it's been around for a while, it was a weird place to announce it, I felt, for the port. But it looks really good. And it has a bit of Catan energy for those who like board games. The octagonal pieces gradually filling up the world. The art style is beautiful. Apparently, this was, Jeff described it as a game made by a bunch of students in college, and it took off from there, and it had 15,000 I think reviews on Steam, so it's very popular. So yeah, it's it's a pretty big deal that it's coming off of Steam and going to other platforms. I'm excited to give it a look if I have the time for it.
No, good on him. Like I was glad to see like college kids like creating this game that's actually taken off. It looks like a fun, relaxing time. I don't know if I will play, but I think it has its audience and it's doing well. So good on him.
100%.
No doubt. Not for me, but salute to them.
We got our final 3 here. The Outlast Trials. This is one of the games that was marketed alongside the show. It was even in the title of it. So, Lone, I want to dish it to you right away. How'd you feel about our latest look at the Outlast series?
Man, I love Outlast. The second game was so messed up. Like it just, I don't know. Have you played it, Matty or Cog?
I played the first one, not the second one.
Play the first one.
So play the first one. First one was good. The second one, if you play it, the story will just like it's a head trip. And I feel like this is going to be more.
That's what I liked about the first one.
Yeah, no, second one's even worse. Like worse, but like in a good way. It's Outlast, right? So this is definitely getting my interest. I'm really keen to get my hands on it. Yeah, like let's go. I love the Outlast series. I just want to be scared and I want a messed up story, and then never think about it again.
It looks more gameplay driven here instead of the first 2. I shouldn't speak for the second one, but the first one I know you just hands off. It was all about hiding. This one looks like more of a survival horror game where you can go out and get after your enemy if you want. But I'm interested in it for sure. I just don't know if I got the balls to play it.
Nah,
you call myself out on it.
Man, I agree with you, man. That game used to freak me out.
Yeah, the first one was scary.
Because I'm like, I gotta hold this thing. Like, oh, man. Like, yeah, it's certain little aspects to it, but it's cool. Don't get me wrong. For my horror dudes, they love it. I get it. Why? But I don't know if I got the stomach this time. But it's more gameplay focused. I will give you that.
Co-op, it's co-op. Maybe.
We might save that. Like, all right, come on.
I don't know how the co-op aspect is going to take away, or like potentially take away from the horror and feeling scared when you're playing with a friend. Because
I want that. Yeah.
I no, absolutely. I mean, when I played Outlast 2, I streamed it, so maybe that took away from it a little bit. But yeah, as you said, Matty, even Outlast 2 was a bit more hands off. If you have to sneak around, otherwise you're pretty much going to die.
Sure.
This is going in a slightly different direction, which is really cool. But I just want to be scared, and I want a messed up story. That's all I want.
I imagine you'll get it. The trailer was really well done, by the way. I just want to shout that out. The
gory.
But it was also cutting away to someone writing a list of like psychological effects people would experience. At least that was my read on it, and it went up to like the number 7. I really liked how they presented it. It caught my interest a lot more than I originally anticipated.
Sure.
All right, 2 more left. I would say really, I should say 1 more left because the finals gets revealed. And this game, man, I mean, what a nothing announcement. It was a reveal of when they're going to reveal the game fully. And I thought to myself, what the fuck? Why don't you just put this out here on the platform? No one's going to care anymore. You had a chance. Again, it goes to tell you that a lot of these publishers have lost the plot and overestimate their relevance, I think. They don't seem to get that, it's a year of delays. There's still stuff coming out, though, that people care about. They're not going to give you the light of day unless you capture your moment when their eyes are on the screen. So nothing to be said about this one, I'm assuming.
No, and it had the second last slot in the show. He could have made such a bigger splash.
Yeah, right? Really weird.
Completely agree.
That brings us to the final game. This one had leaked, but I didn't know how much we were going to see. At first, I was thinking, it's just a confirmation it exists with the CG trailer, Dead Island 2. And then afterwards, when the crowd's flat, they're like, well, you want to see gameplay? And you hear everyone pick back up with life. Like,
good on him.
God, we're not ending this on a CG trailer. There's a coy little play by Jeff. So I like the mindset there, tricking the audience a bit. Dead Island 2 shows up in a year where we got Dying Light 2. I think Dying Light 2, when it works and it's not buggy, is one of the best games of the year. I really liked what I saw here, though. This looked way friggin' better than I ever expected. This is coming from Dan Buster. Dan Buster made Homefront: The Revolution, which was not a good video game. It was critically panned. It was broken. So the confidence is not high with them. And I still remain a bit skeptical about it. But what was shown here really captured that fun Dead Island feel that I think was lost a bit in Riptide. And even if you go back to the first game, I want to love the first game like I did when I first played it, man. There was no game in high school I put more hours into, probably outside of Skyrim, than Dead Island 1.
Oh, really?
Dead Island 1. Yeah, man. Dead Island 1, I played over and over and over. It was a big co-op game in my group. And Riptide, we even played a ton. It's just that didn't stick as long. going back to these games, thanks to Dying Light 1 being so revolutionary, they don't feel as good. This game, though, really looked to capture things properly with what that game did well, which was just kicking the shit out of zombies. Having 6 classes, already a great start. We had 4 to move it up a little bit. So I liked what I saw a lot here. I'm curious if you guys did as well.
No, I absolutely did. Yeah, like the particle effects were great. The gore was great. Like it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun shooting zombies. And I like the fact that there are different classes too. Different classes always adds to replayability. I think it looked great. I'm glad as they did the kind of the fake where they're like, yeah, here's just a typical cool Dead Island trailer. Oh, you want to see gameplay? Perfect way that they could have done it. It looks like a lot of fun for sure.
Definitely. That was the vibe. I got it's just over the top, right? It's just over the top. It's hilarious on certain things. And it's really creative and gory. So I was just like, I like that. I thought some of the character models look decent. You know what I mean? And what I liked is how creative you could get, kind of like with the sandbox, and they had like the fire flames on the floor. You can do all this other stuff. And all this, combo stuff. They just let you go wild in the sandbox. So it looked cool.
Yeah, and the dialogue too, the facial animations all looked higher quality than I expected. So I'm pulling for this game. I really hope it ends up great. It looked good from what we saw here. It's fascinating. It's gonna come out, and at least what I saw here, because what I was looking for when the game was to be revealed is, what did y'all see that made you want to keep this thing around for so long? I never call for a game's cancellation, but when it got passed from developer to developer to developer and it never got canceled, clearly someone saw potential in this game somewhere along the way, because it is retaining some of the core ideas, right? I think when we first saw Dead Island 2 revealed, it was to be set in LA or at least somewhere in Cali. So I feel like that raw core concept still has captured the companies investing in it, where I think they've proved why. It looks really good. So I'm crossing my fingers when the full product releases in February that it is as good as it looks.
Busy time. Damn.
Yeah, February is not going to be fun for reviewers.
Ooh, I'm done. And my Destiny drops. I'm finished.
Oh, really?
I'm finished.
All they got to do is throw Liza P in there, and that's it.
Oh, don't do that.
So you'll have Dead Island, you'll have Hogwarts Legacy, Destiny.
Oh my god! My god!
Yeah. Liza P, that sounds like a great month for it. I feel like the universe fights against you. When it rains, it pours in game releases, right?
100%.
Yeah, just get out of the way.
Space that, please.
Yeah. All right, we only have one other bit of news, believe it or not, because a lot of the news was quiet this week, thanks to, of course, Gamescom, where everyone was holding their cards close to their chest until the announcements could be out there. We heard a bit about an update on Xbox's deal with Activision, where Saudi Arabia had approved the deal. So that was something that floated out there. But what I think was the bigger conversation was one Phil Spencer had with Bloomberg in an interview. So he spoke on the progress of the deal, on cleaning up Activision, on unionizing gaming, and on exclusivity, as well as expanding further as a brand and what that means. So let's go through all of the quotes directly from the interview over on Bloomberg. First, on the progress of the deal with Activision, he says, "I feel good about the progress that we've been making, but I go into the process supportive of people who maybe aren't as close to the gaming industry, asking good, hard questions about what is our intent? What does this mean? If you play it out over 5 years, is this constricting a market? Is it growing a market? I've never done a $70 billion deal, so I don't know what my confidence means. I will say the discussions we've been having seem positive." Then he moves on to talk about Activision when asked about, do we trust that they're going to clean up their act? He says, "I believe they're committed to that. When I look at the work they're doing now, there always seems to be more that can be done, but I believe from the studio leaders there that I know very well, some of them former Xbox members," which I'm imagining he's talking about Mike Ibarra, "they're committed to this journey. And I applaud that regardless of the deal." Then moving on to unionizing in gaming, he says, "I've never run an organization that has unions in it, but what I can say in working through this is we recognize workers needs to feel safe and heard and compensated fairly in order to do great work. We definitely see a need to support the workers and the outcomes that they want to have." Afterwards, and this is the one that was catching headlines, exclusivity, the talk on exclusivity. Phil says, "I think it's something we're going to see less and less of. Maybe you happen to, in your household, buy an Xbox and I buy a PlayStation, and our kids want to play together, but they can't because we bought the wrong piece of plastic to plug into our television. We really love being able to make players, we really love to be able to bring more players in, reducing friction, making people feel safe and secure when they're playing, allowing them to find their friends, play with their friends, regardless of what device. I think in the long run, this is good for the industry. And maybe in the short run, there's some people in some companies that don't love it. But I think as we get over the hump and see where this industry can continue to grow, it proves out to be true. Lastly, and then I want to pass it to you, Cog, right away, on expanding further. Xbox said they're not done buying after Activision Blizzard. He says, I'm always thinking about things that add to our capability. Even though we've worked on our geographic expansion, I'd still say we have too many creators in places that are our traditional markets. He also said he remains on the hunt for more content, whether by investing in new games, partnerships, or further deals. Cog, what do you make of the man at the top and what he's had to say recently? It's been a while since Phil's come out of hiding, and this is what he had to say about a variety of topics ranging across Xbox. So please fire away.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. I mean, I think when I looked at the initial comments, obviously the thing that piqued my interest was the Activision deal, because we know that's a big one. And we know that there's a lot that they're acquiring there. And how are they going to manage it in conjunction with, my question was like the unionization thing. That's something that's coming up a lot in those talks. And is Xbox going to adopt that? And, there was a level of transparency there, saying, yeah, they never, ran an organization with unions in it. But that's not something that's going to go away. And I'm very curious to see, because the optics PR-wise for what was going on there in Activision, we don't have to go into the gory details, was not good. And, people are going to, the spotlight is on in conjunction with all the games you control and the biggest franchise, in Call of Duty under your watch. So I thought the exclusivity thing was interesting, because on one hand, I do understand from crossplay and gamers playing together, and, their philosophy is kind of, very different in the sense that, look, they want you to go every device. They don't care where you access, and that's part of their philosophy. However, I look at the ZeniMax deal, right? And I look at things like Starfield, right? And it's like, you can only get it there. So Phil's the homie. We love him. I love him, what I'm saying? But there's part of me that's like, well, what was the philosophy there? Because you did, in a sense, keep that off of other platforms.
You're
right?
detecting a bit of a change in tune because the deal is ongoing, maybe?
Listen, we all know the Call of Duty Activision Blizzard is a huge thing for regulators in the FTC. And it behooves them to play at their nicest, in my opinion. Right? Because you don't want to give off the impression that this deal is going to make it anti-competitive and prevent others from really competing with you in the space. So there's a part of me that I think is marketing speaking. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to roll with that. And that's cool. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But I will give him this in reference to, even though I'm going to hit my man a little bit. I do feel that their philosophy with Azure cloud servers, Game Pass, it is overall their philosophy. I will give them that. But I will say, when they acquire, they generally tend to want to lock it down to the confines of their ecosystem. And if what was the famous words? A place where Game Pass exists. Yeah. if you put our service on you, then yeah, we'll play nice and let it exist where you
100%.
So I just think it's a lot of corporate speak, but I understand the overall goal of what they're trying to do.
Lone, what's your read of the situation here with what Phil had to say about everything from exclusivity to unionization and so on?
Oh, it's so much to unpack. Okay, talking about Activision Blizzard first. There's obviously a lot that's gone on with that company. A lot of good people have left, and the eyes are just going to shift to Microsoft to resolve those issues, because they're clearly ongoing. He's going to have to play ball with the unionization that's happening, whether he likes it or not. And I think he understands that, Phil. He's a smart guy. So we'll see what happens with there. But eyes are going to be on him for that. But also, you mentioned a good point, Cog. Like when they acquired ZeniMax or Bethesda, it was weird. I was there at the time. It felt like they were doing it because they wanted to secure good IP for their platforms. And they've clearly said that Starfield and that future Bethesda games are going to be day and date Game Pass at launch, and likelihood is they're probably not going to come to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So the Activision acquisition, I understand consolidation. It's happening in the games industry. Strategically, it makes sense for Xbox to have those massive brands under them. They have the money, they can do it. It's a huge cachet, smart developers, makes complete sense. But they clearly cannot have the same approach with exclusivity with Blizzard and Activision as they can with Bethesda. Could you imagine the outcry if they tried to take off Call of Duty off of PlayStation? It's too embedded there. They're out of necessity, because all eyes are on them and they don't want to piss off the player base. They're going to have to play ball there with the FTC as well, because Sony has. I don't know if you saw those leaks or whatever it was. Sony tried to make arguments, about how, look, this is
Those documents.
this is going to go against competitiveness, and Sony, like, you might disagree or agree, like, they're making some decent points, and I think Microsoft understands that. So it's like they're two completely different acquisitions that are serving two different purposes. I think they're going to be fine, though. There's enough game companies out there for them not to be anti-competitive with this. It's just a weird one. Man, there's a lot of corporate speak in here. I don't know how I feel about it. Phil? Like, yeah, what do you think, Maru?
I think that it's clear this is for the Activision deal and nothing less. This is a complete change in tune from what we've seen historically from them. I'm looking specifically at the Elder Scrolls 6 situation, where they very firmly locked that down and said that is going to be Xbox exclusive, or where Xbox platforms exist, so on and so forth. So to me, this is the corporate speak workaround, where down the line you look at this, and if Game Pass is on PlayStation, they go, look, see, we didn't bar it down. We were willing to play nice, but it's within their own rule set. The other thing that goes against it is when they bought, as you mentioned, ZeniMax, the first thing Phil said is that this is about a deal to get great exclusives on platforms where Game Pass exists. Like
that's what he said.
Yeah, to a T. So
To a T.
you don't make a big $7.5 billion purchase to reverse the mindset of that 2 years later. You just temporarily reverse it until the paperwork's all done, the deal is done, and you go back to playing a different game. So again, that's why they're using this type of verbiage, where the avenue is open, where if someone were to decry what's happening with Xbox, why are they locking things down or whatnot, they can point to Game Pass and be like, well, see, it's on this platform here, and look, it's accessible, it's available. We're not locking things down. And that's going to be their avenue for everything, because it's such a brand new thing to everyone that they sort of had the advantage, right? They got the ace up their sleeve. No one's got the weapon quite like Game Pass. Otherwise, on deal progress, it's kind of funny to hear him say, like, I feel good, but I also effectively don't know, because I'm not really involved in it. So it seems like he's hands off on the legal side of things, which I guess would make sense. And it's good that he's just focusing on gaming and whatnot. But perhaps what caught my interest a little bit more is that he's still not satisfied with what Xbox is doing geographically, that he wants to expand more.
100%.
And I love that. I love the hungry mindset, because you've seen them, with Persona, with Kojima, now we're learning with Lies of P, that a lot of Xbox fans were satisfied. And I have been saying that, and I'm not supporting just what Phil's doing here because it supports my argument, but I was saying that I'm not bought in yet. Like, I don't believe that every JRPG I see is coming to Xbox and that they're going to get exclusive ones. Like, I have yet to really see that, but I'm seeing them get a little bit better with those moves I just talked about. And to know that he's not satisfied, he wants more, that's really good for everyone involved, because that goes beyond just Japan, which is the core region we talk about here. There's many more games in Brazil and so on and so forth. Games from China. I know we talk a lot about NetEase and whatnot, but there are some wonderful looking games, single player games coming out of China. So I think it's wise if Xbox can partner with them instead of letting NetEase always be the middleman. So I was actually interested to see that, he wants more. He wants more out of what Xbox can do, and the capability is not quite there yet. So to me, it looks like we're really reaching for those 360 days where it was the hub for everything, man. And I love the energy big time.
This is why that the Activision Blizzard deal, partly anyway, is like, overall I understand it, but partly it surprised me because it's $70 billion, ridiculous amount of money. Like, for him to come out and say we need to invest in other markets, you've just purchased two very North American companies.
Yeah.
So and spent $80 billion, whatever it is, in doing so. Let's say they acquired ZeniMax Bethesda. Like, that's fine. That makes complete sense. Why not spend that money on investing on studios creating these kinds of games and other publishers? Why? Maybe he just wants to have his cake and eat it too, and acquire everyone. But then they go into bed with Activision and Blizzard, which is a North American creating Western games. So I understand what he's saying, but I thought he would have they would have tried to make different acquisitions before Activision Blizzard.
You're totally right, because they're firming up a place that they already had a pretty strong foothold in.
Absolutely. And I know all the developers are North American.
Yeah, right. And they're trying to clearly support Game Pass, but you make a great point that you want to go beyond that, right? You want to go out and get someone. And especially now with the rumors that Sony will try to gobble up Square Enix's Japanese division, that's going to be bad for Microsoft, man. That's, I mean, say what you will about Square Enix, and my bigger problem with them lied with their Western division, but their Japanese division, like this year is a perfect example of why you probably want to be in bed with Square Enix. Like they've just been releasing big game after big game after big game, and they've done well. Like Triangle Strategy 2 did over 1 million sales. That's insane. It's a pixel-based tactics game exclusive to the Switch, but Square Enix has such a social cachet with JRPGs that Sony's wise to get close with that, and Xbox needs to be on the hunt, because if they're plucked off the market, then who do you have left? Capcom? Capcom's doing the best they've done in years. I don't know how they answer it. So, Cog, you looked like you had something to say.
Yeah, no, you making fantastic points. I think for me, it's a combination of two things. One, I always got the vibe that this was a very opportunistic deal in the sense that you had all these things going on as far as the dumpster fire of public relations to Activision. And then it was like, hey, pick up the phone and see what's going on over there. That's the vibe I got, as opposed to, obviously, in a perfect world, would they like to acquire it? Yeah, but I think it just was a perfect scenario that happened, and then they were able to capitalize. But honestly, I think the real reason, one of the major reasons why they did it is the king aspect, because no one, as gamers, as hardcore gamers, I really don't care about mobile. I don't really do it. But for them, they have no footprint, really. Windows Phone and all that stuff is really non-existent. So I think that's the thing that they really wanted to strengthen, that they look at as a deficiency. But I'm with you guys overall. I think that ultimately, once this is closed, you still have to hit those deficiencies in those other markets you're really not in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's what I really want to see them do. I know we talked about, Sega's or a Japanese studio, and just in other regions, Lone is talking about, his listeners are hearing, when there's that Portuguese game came out and how excited and hyped they are. So you want to get those regions that you really traditionally Xbox is not synonymous with. And I think what you said, Matty, I'm very excited when I heard that he's not satisfied with those other markets, because to me, that's where the true deficiencies are. You guys are the kings. I don't say the king, but you guys are so dominant in American stuff and Western RPGs right now with ZeniMax and all that. You're good. FPS, you're good. JRPGs, fighting games. Fighting games. Whole job, Microsoft, fighting games. What is going on? And, obviously they got down with was it Toys Football? I always get mixed up with the kiddie games. They're getting that better with Activision Blizzard King. But there's still a couple of deficiencies that I like to see them fill. And I agree overall that those need to be the focus once this thing is closed, so to speak.
And it's clear that he's focused on it. Like, even just look at him getting Xbox onto Samsung TVs, South Korean company. He's not an idiot. Like, of all things that you could say about Xbox and Phil, like, he knows exactly what he's doing. He wants Game Pass on freaking everything, and Samsung TVs is a big way to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm sure if he had his way, he would love to have Game Pass on PlayStation as well, and eventually they don't create consoles. But he knows PlayStation ain't playing ball, Nintendo certainly ain't playing ball with that. So he's trying to get around that by going down the TV route too. So he's very smart. I just want to see some more investment into Asian companies, South Korean companies, Japanese companies creating those kinds of games.
100%.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact military strategy where you swarm your enemy from all sides until there's no escape, right? So as you put Game Pass on every single device in an efficient capacity, and the circle around the territory known as Japan shrinks, where PlayStation's sitting there sweating a little bit, Nintendo's sweating a little bit, like, we're the only two without it. And
correct.
That pressure, that social pressure kicks in. If I'm Phil, that's the route I take. It's the long road, but it's probably the most successful road.
You talk about the pincer?
Yes,
The
Pincer movement. That's it.
Yes, yeah. I was trying to figure out the official name while
Yeah.
Lo was talking. I was like, what's the military strategy for that?
Yeah, King uses that all the time.
And honestly, I
Love
don't
it.
know. I think once like either Nintendo or PlayStation 4, then the other will. I don't know which one will crack first. All I keep remembering is when like Microsoft used to want to buy Nintendo and Nintendo laughed them out of the room. I don't think it'll be Nintendo. If anything, it'll be PlayStation, but PlayStation seems to kind of sticking to their guns and doing what they're doing. So I like the vision that, Phil is saying that eventually there won't be exclusives. And in his mind, it's not exclusive because you can buy it on every TV. That's what I think he means, and not necessarily that, if you're on a PlayStation, we can't release our games on PlayStation, but you can still buy it on a TV. So it's not exclusive. I think that's his mentality.
Yeah. His corporate speak.
It's 100%. Yeah.
Last little bit of news, just a tidbit here. Probably should have been in the before we begin section, but in case there's more to say about it, because these are the meatier news bites. Marty Stratton of id, he sat there to do the opener for QuakeCon, and he spoke and said, here at id, the team is hard at work on our next big game, although we're not ready to share those details quite yet. So another Matty prediction down the tubes. Thought that there was a chance we may have gotten like a title announcement. That's what I was looking for. Like, here's our game. But I'm happy to wait. It is delivered constantly. So whatever they got cooking, I'm just more so interested. I know it'll look good. I'm just interested if it's going to be exclusive or not. Speaking of our last topic here, but anything you guys want to throw out there about it and what they're working on here? Lone, I'm not sure how much you can speak to.
No, I can't speak to it. Yeah.
They gonna put that friendly aim.
I'm sorry.
Nah, we protect you, brother. We ain't gonna do that to you.
Cog, anything you'd like to throw out there?
No, I'm not really the Quake guy, but I wanted to see. I wanted to see
it's
what's
Quake,
going
huh?
on.
It's Quake, huh?
I'm just saying, potentially.
I mean, you seem to have your ear close to the ground if last week's high on life delay is anything to go by.
Oh my God, I'm never gonna hit the end of that one. It's just an educated guess. It just happened to hit once in a while.
Make an educated guess. If it's Quake, Cog,
here we go. I know nothing, dude. When I tell, I'm like, yo, Matty, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, blah. I will say it. But this, I don't know, and I just take guesses, and sometimes you hit. Then they be like, oh, he knew all along. Just a guess.
So we'll see whatever they're up to whenever. Again, I think Xbox is really trying to stack the board heavily for next year's summer showcase. It's what Cog, you and I, we were like saying, it was a solid showcase this past year, but I feel like if we're looking for first party heavy hitters, when we're talking about like Indiana Jones, what id's working on, Avowed, Fable. Because when I was sitting there at the Gamescom stream, a lot of my chat was asking, like, when are we going to see this? When are we going to see that? I'm like, punt it all the next showcase. Like, you might see one of them, I would say maybe Avowed at the Game Awards. I just say that because I've guessed Avowed for the next, like, the last 3 fucking shows, and I just can't seem to get it. I don't know what happened, but I do feel like a lot of this is being pushed to next year because they have their whole next year defined, although a lot of that involves waiting. And when they're really rolling, man, if they get to come out in 2023 after 3 big first-party launches on top of what's in Game Pass, and they just say, like, hey, here's what's next, and it's all the first-party stuff we've been waiting for since 2018, that's a really strong position to be in. So I'll wait out what id's working on because I'm sure it'll be an even more exciting time when it is finally announced. And with that, we move on to our Game Pass back and pat pick of the week. Cog, if you picked the one that I was thinking of doing next week when I got some time into the game, I was thinking this has got to be one, right? So, well, it's all you. I was about to announce what it was. Sorry.
Yeah, man. It's been me. Midnight Fight Express. Now, disclaimer. I am very biased to the beat-em-up genre. I am extremely biased. These are my old head sensibilities. I love those, Double Dragon, Renegade, Streets of Rage kind of things. And let me get the elephants out the room. Okay, first of all, resolution ain't the greatest for whatever reason on my TV. When I fired it up, it looked a little weird, a little weird on it. And from my understanding, the developer is just like one guy. It's like a really small team, right? So that's the first thing. Shout out to the cops. Go by. I apologize.
Midnight Fight Express coming to Cog's house.
Coming to my house right now.
The cops.
They are pumped for this release. So you got that going on. But the second thing is, again, low technical issue. I don't know if it's my TV, my setup. The volume is extremely loud. The music volume is like rocking. I had to turn it down. I'm like, they got the sound effects. You can tell it's a smaller studio. It's just a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen. Yeah, it's one guy. So, all right, let me get that out the way. Now, the reason why I love this game is because it starts off, they try to do this little, they don't take themselves seriously with the narrative, right? At all. At all. Like this is complete jokes. And like, you know, when you meet your first set of goons, it's like the bozos or whatever it is. It's like, and then like, yeah, it's like apparently you're this guy, you're like a sleeper agent, you don't remember who you are. You start the game, kind of start off in a cop's office, and you're like chained up, and they're like, you killed all these people, you did all this stuff, don't tell us you didn't know what you were doing. And then you're retelling the story of kind of what happened. So as you start, I'm gonna say this: Xbox guys who don't have PlayStation, it's giving me a lot of Sifu energy, right? A lot of combo skill trees. You have your strikes. You got a parry system you can diverge into. You got grappling, and then I believe there's another skill that they have. Oh, takedowns, right? Where it's these brutal finishes. The game is extremely visceral, like it is. But you can rough people up, and I will say this: the animations, like the counter systems, the parry. So you're taking on multiple enemies. It's kind of like this over the top, semi-isometric. Everything in the game is interactable. If you see it, you can use it. You could throw it. Chair. They got guns. They got all that. And then they got different levels of enemies where they're tougher to break their defense. And I thought the fighting system on a base level was really cool. Like it's fun. It's flashy. And it's brutal. So I will say the stages are very short. You know, the game really wants you to excel at the combat so you can get a nice rating. The more rating you get, the more skill points, the more money, the more things you can do. Simple game at its core, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, nice. Yo, I couldn't stop playing. So look, if you're into the beat 'em up genre, check out Midnight Fight Express. I think it's a fun little romp if you got time. And it seems short. Looks like it's not.
I was just looking it up while you were talking, and the average, not just on a website, but I tabbed through a couple of reviews, is about 4 hours. So
yeah, it's short. I'm already deep far into it, but it's one of those games I want to keep playing because once you get into the zen of the fighting,
kind of like Sifu, like a mastering.
Yes, it's Sifu with they coming at you, but it's more visceral. Sifu's better graphically and clearly tells a better narrative. You know what I'm saying? But this one is just it's fun, man. I can't put my finger on it. It just has a fun factor to it that I like about it. But we'll see.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to trying that one out.
In Game Pass. Yeah, in Game Pass. Check it out.
I'm gonna be playing that this next week for sure. Especially knowing it's that short, because Humble Bundle had randomly dropped a review code for me, and I got it downloaded on my Steam Deck, and this just seems like it's got that Steam Deck energy, right?
Yeah, Steam Deck energy all the way. Yes.
I'm looking forward to trying it.
I will be taking this on a play for sure.
Right on. Okay, we got 3 questions left to wrap up the show, so let's get it started with Big Roo, who's got a question that I'm really excited to get the answers in here, because Lone, I know you're part of the Health is Wealth grind as well, man. You've been hitting the gym, you got jacked in between the time of ham radio and now. So he writes, salutations D-Generation X. What's your go-to calories be damned treat meal? Yes, we all know health is wealth, but we all know you got to treat yourself from time to time. I'm from New Mexico, where we are blessed to have the GCCB, the green chili cheeseburger. Oh. Make it a double with that Gears and Forza. Fries and shake, and you can't go wrong. So what's the move, gents? Have a Better Call Saul has ended, and now I feel a void in my life kind of day. I was watching Breaking Bad clips the other night. I was like, this is such a good show, man. But Lone, I want to start with you. What's the cheat meal? You're throwing your life away. Health be damned. Calories be damned. I'm going to eat whatever I want. What's the pick?
All right, so for me, it's 100%. We have this place here called Mr. G Burger, okay? And they do like really rich, sauce-heavy burgers. They have a bunch that I love to choose from. They have a truffle burger, which is amazing. They have this Stoner's burger, which has like, we call them chips, like whatever you call like crinkle cut fries or whatever in it. And the sauce and bacon and a patty, it's freaking awesome. And then for the side, they have these bacon boy fries where it's liquid cheese and bacon jam and this maple mayo, and I get extra of the sauce. That 100%. Every week I get it. It's my cheat meal.
I love that.
Nice. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, for me, it's simple, man. My weakness is always late night. I do a lot of my best thing. I'm up too late, first of all. I should be dead. Second of all, I do my best thinking, but then, you stay up, you get hungry. Mm-hmm. And it's always that one place, Matty, that's always open. And hours it shouldn't be in my area. It is White Castle.
Oh,
White Castle, bro. Like, it's bad. Either the double cheese are insane. You even I either do the chicken rings, and then Man, a shake. It's bad, man.
I haven't
They're
had
small,
them in years.
and you could just pat like 6 of them bad
Yeah,
boys,
they got
and
some
then
wet burgers for sure.
oh yeah, bro. And I will say, you
bombs.
pay for it. You pay for it after. Let's just say we had that discussion about toilet bowls. And listen,
You want
will
that can
pay
flush if
for
you got
what
a
you
White
did.
Castle nearby.
You better not have that situation with your plumbing with White Castle. But yeah, White Castle's always been mine. And the other last one I want to shout out, even though it's not, the rest of their food is kind of healthy. I think I told you this, Matty. Chick-fil-A's frozen lemonade. Dangerous.
I feel like
dangerous that thing. Oh my, so good. So good. I'm addicted to that thing. I'm like, man, I don't know what y'all got in here. This is amazing.
Yeah,
what you got, Matty? What you got?
It's sad because I have a lot of options because I love to eat out. I love to eat out, man. If you could pick like my favorite non-video game thing, it's going out to a new restaurant. It's just 100%. There's a feeling, a vibe. Like, let's see what we got here. And you always walk home satisfied. At least in my case, I've been pretty fortunate. And I got a lot of places, local joints. I'm not gonna shout them out because I don't want any of y'all coming near me. Let's see here.
That's what he lives.
Right. I got a Vietnamese restaurant near me, and they when I wasn't vegan, they had this beef noodle bowl that just was legendary, man. It was the spot. It was the spot. Mac and cheese bar. That's one I love to go to, and they got all different kinds of mac and cheese, man. So that's another one. But I think if I was to really pick one that I'm always going to, it's good old-fashioned pizza. That's like my favorite of them all. The good old-fashioned New York pizza. It just hits right. It's refreshing. Especially now, I hate to preach veganism, but I will say that I used to have when I had pizza, it bound me up a lot. You remember you talk Cog about like it just flies through you, White Castle. Opposite for me. A lot of pizza just tighten up, bro. Like it just nothing's passing through for some time. But with veganism, I get to enjoy the pizza without the gut bomb. And it's a really nice feeling. So guilt-free pizza, but still obviously not the it's not necessarily calories be damn choice, but I don't know, man. Like that part of me is kind of gone. I just like enjoy going to different restaurants. Because I used to have fast food all the time in high school. I mean, we talk about the health is wealth mindset. I don't know what you would call the exact opposite of that right now, but
it's definitely not health is
like 20. I was the $20 at McDonald's lifestyle is what I was doing. Yeah, man. I would walk home with I'm gonna put myself on blast here. Snack wrap.
What you get?
2 McDoubles, 20-piece nugget, large fry.
20 piece. What sauce you doing with the nuggets?
Honey mustard.
Okay, interesting.
No sweet and sour.
No, it was great, but I'm a honey mustard guy through and through.
Honey mustard guy. That's
I clearly I was because the snack wraps they used to have, the grilled chicken snack wraps, honey mustard version of that when they had that available, and of course large Sprite. And large Sprite. I would walk home with that, and that was typically my post orthodontist meal. And fuck the orthodontist on the side there. I hated my orthodontist, by the way. If there's someone who never did anything wrong to me and tried to help me and I despised, it was my orthodontist, man. I used to like curse that man under my breath. All right. Got 2 left here. And Lins27 writes in, hey, Dukes. Around a year ago, I remember Matty calling out Xbox for neglecting PC Game Pass, especially around the release of Outriders and how it didn't get added to PC till months later after the console release. Fast forward a year with the release of Death Stranding and the addition of 5 legacy Bethesda games to PC Game Pass, I'd not argue it's now the best place to experience Game Pass. All games now come to PC on day one, and PC tends to be more or get more games added to the service. As a primary console player, do Xbox need to work harder to get these games where they are possible on console, or at the minimum, find a way to include them in the cloud service for access to all players? In classic Mick Foley style, have a nice day. Thank you, N. Lynn. So, Cog, we were very critical of day one Game Pass drops last year and of PC Game Pass this year. We've waited back. We've watched as the service has developed, and I'm curious to see if you feel like things have got better here, because I definitely think so. I feel when you start to see, for me, the problem was that they were missing out and console was the best place to eat. But now you're starting to see them get the console treatment. I would disagree with Enlins on the front that it's the best place to play. I feel like the playing field's even now. PC's getting some stuff and console's getting some stuff. And this is why I'm pleased with it, is because they're using PC as a weapon. If we can use PC as the workaround to get something like Death Stranding that typically would have been unattainable because of PlayStation, that's where PC Game Pass is great. But you're also getting a lot of RTSs there, strategy games. And so I'm pumped for what PC Game Pass is doing. I still think like the UI and whatnot needs a lot more work. Your ability to discover games is poor on both, I think, console and PC. So I think that part desperately needs to be improved. But otherwise, I think they're on the right pathway and they're doing a better job. Plus the legacy games, plus xCloud, it's all looking better here. But Cog, I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've definitely improved. There's no doubt. I mean, I remember the times like, was it Microsoft Flight Simulator, Gears Tactics, the RTS genres, and you're like, yo, how are they getting all these PC games? And like, nothing's, when is it coming? Kind of thing. And we're seeing the ports happen a bit faster. Obviously, there's certain things from a contractual standpoint with Death Stranding they just cannot do. That was a 505 situation. That's just what it is. So I agree completely with you, Matty, in reference to leveraging PC Game Pass in that way. They still got a long way to go with that interface and that launcher, though. I'm still not pleased when you look at, I'm not a PC primarily player, but, Steam is the de facto thing. And I hate that there are still some issues, as far as PC Game Pass and the way it functions. I thought Game Bar was a nice improvement, what I'm saying, from a standpoint, but there's still a long way to go. But overall, to the question, I just think that it has gotten better. It has gotten better. They're trying to have as much parity as they possibly can have. But to your point, there's going to be some things contractually that will just be on console based on the nature of the deal, and vice versa with PC Game Pass. But yeah, I don't think it's. I think we're past the part where it's like they're lazy and they're not. What's going on? I don't think it's that. What I'm saying? So I think they are improved. That's where I'm at. Where you at, Lo?
No, I think people would be surprised to hear how often it is a contract stopping a deal being made, and it's no amount of money that you can throw at it. If an ex-developer has signed a deal with PlayStation that says you can't release your game on another console, then they can't do it, right? And I'm sure that there are those instances where it's more about a port issue, and do they see the return on investment to spend the money and get the port over to console? Like, those situations absolutely happen, but I think it's the contractual issue that's the biggest issue when it comes to things like this. So yeah, I think they're doing their best, but I agree that they do need to improve on the UI and everything on PC. Like, it's whenever I'm having issues. Yeah, like whenever I'm having issues with other games on PC, you'd be surprised to see when people's first suggestions are turn off Game Bar, turn off this, turn off that, uninstall Xbox, because it creates issues. Like even with Elden Ring, as an example that I mentioned before, uninstalling all the Xbox stuff can actually help with some issues that you're having with stuttering. Wow. So yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. So there you go. Yeah, I think it's getting better, but on the tech side, the discovery side, interface side, it needs improvement.
Yeah, the launcher, they still got to get that interface together.
Yeah. Absolutely. And with that, we have our last question of the episode. Derek Mozzarella writes in. That's a hell of a name. Hey, Dukes. With the Dragon Ball event in Fortnite getting everyone online talking, it caused me to wonder how Halo Battle Royale can compete with a game that has crazy new crossovers and gameplay changes seemingly every week. What do you guys think would keep a Halo Battle Royale base consistently engaged with the way the Fortnite base is? One thought I had was adding weapons and removing weapons somewhat like consistently Fortnite does. For example, having a few weeks where you can find the Combat Evolved Magnum on the map. Curious to hear both your thoughts on this, and thanks for the great content every week. Thank you, Derek. Yeah, so to cap things off, let's do this on a sour note. Let's talk about 343. Now, we mentioned how they're cycling out modes at the start of our show. Now here we are at the end talking about what they could do to stay in the race here. And I personally feel, I'm not sure if you guys agree, but you just can't, when you make a battle royale, think of how we compete with Fortnite. It's just
correct.
An engine of its own. It's a machine of its own. I feel like it's impossible to keep up with because it's so big that you can simply put that manpower into just keeping that game updated. There's nothing out there like it. It's why it's special. It's why it's popular. It's why Cog bent the knee to that Destiny tie-in, right? They just have a power that brings in brands. And so I don't know really what Halo necessarily does other than make something really good that's going to catch people's eyes. And I know that sounds silly, but I think that alongside consistent updates will do the trick, because part one was there for Halo Infinite, which was making something good. It plays wonderfully. It's just that the updates weren't there. So I think what they need to do is make sure when they drop this thing, no one's asking about it. No one's looking into it. It's just a thing in the Xbox rumor mill. To me, what they got to do is when it's ready, you know what I'm going to say? hold it for like 3 extra months. Make sure your next 2 updates are ready to go. So you are fucking ahead of the game. Okay.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Then put it out there so that you could be like, here's the roadmap, and we'll see you next month with this, and next week with this, and just have it ready to go. Like a complete game plan. Learn from your failures, build this shit back up. I think you'll do just fine from there. But if they come out and they're like, here's the battle royale, deuces, see you in like 3 months. That's going to spell trouble. It's going to die as quickly as clearly Last Spartan Standing died. So that's how I read the situation. But Lone, I'm curious with you, how you think, because you seem to agree that, there couldn't be really a competition here with Fortnite. What does 343 do when it comes to a Halo Battle Royale mode, which is rumored for the game?
Yeah, when the question was asked, like, how do they compete with Fortnite? My first immediate response was, don't compete with Fortnite. They have, and last time that I heard, they have like thousands and thousands of employees, or whatever ridiculous high number it is, just working on Fortnite. And then you compare that to the size of 343, which is doing other Halo stuff, plus the Battle Royale mode and whatever else they have. You cannot compete with that workforce. They are spitting out content with Fortnite all the freaking time. You cannot compete. So I agree. They just need to take stock of what they have and take their time and try and do the best that they can with the size of the workforce that they can. And I believe, if you're going to try and do Battle Royale, do it right and release a new thing that's I would honestly say they should not tie it in with Halo Infinite. Release a standalone Battle Royale. It's the same issue with Nuclear Winter. They tried to release with Fallout 76, and it split the player base, and people didn't care, and then they ended up axing it. It needs to be done right. I know Fortnite started off with those very similar kind of origins where it was the different game and then they moved on to that. That was a lightning in a bottle. Now that Fortnite is the juggernaut that it is, do your own game. If you really want to get into Battle Royale, and do it right and support it, like you said. Don't just tack it on as a mode and update it once every 3 months, because it's going to die and everyone's just going to go back to playing Fortnite.
Yeah, and I feel like the scary part about this is Halo Infinite never really captured on the update side of things what people were expecting. I remember people were going like, "Oh, when's Sergeant Johnson going to be the AI guy doing the play-by-play?" Like, I think Cog, it was you who said that, and I feel like they never captured something like that for their own core game, where the updates are primed and good to go. You had the Heroes of Reach, right? So it was a throwback to Halo Reach. People are thinking like, okay, we're going more nostalgic with these updates. When are we going to get the Combat Evolved one, the Halo 2 theme one, so on and so forth? And they never even did that. So that's the thing I do worry about with the Battle Royale is I think the gameplay for Battle Royale, it sells itself for Halo. I think it makes a lot of sense just on the pick up and shoot nature of the game. But I think with the updates is where I'm most concerned as well. So Cog, what do you feel about the situation?
Yeah, I mean, kind of pretty much in alignment with both of you. I think that, look, at its core, they have to get the core elements right first. They still have many issues. The co-op has not launched. The Forge is not there. There's desync issues. There's all these core issues that's a problem. To me, as a guy that's kind of the live service guy, I look at Destiny and I remember when it first launched and it stayed at launch. And it had so many issues, and then they finally got it to a place. And I think I keep using this comparison. They need to have what I consider was the turning point for Destiny was the Taken King expansion, where they took so much time off. There wasn't much content really between a lot of the bad expansions and then Taken King. And they just completely rebuilt this game from a foundation and then packed it with so much content that when they resurfaced, it's like, bam, we got this raid, we got this. That's what Halo needs. It's like, bam, we have the co-op. We have all the issues now. We have a fully functional Forge mode. We got 2 or 3 new maps. Here's Battle Royale. Here's Warzone or whatever. And then you have this meaty experience. So you're just not reliant on a mode that you're just going to say that you put out for a couple of months and like, Lono said, then dies off. We just saw what happened in Last Man Standing that they just put out Lone Wolves and now it's died off. Mm-hmm. They have to truly fully support. What Halo launch has shown me is for whatever reason, they were woefully unprepared to support a live service game with the consistency that they need to keep player engagement. Yeah. That's just been the problem. Players, when they don't see the support, they are going to betray you. They're going to go off to the Fortnites and they're going to go to the games that actually are giving the consistent content. You have to feed it. It's a very ravenous beast. These players, we go through things pretty quickly. And I think that's the thing, because the shame of it is at its core, the gunplay, the shooting. It was fun. It was good.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that's frustrating. They missed the zeitgeist. They had the opportunity right there at launch. And if you'd have just held off instead of looking for the 20th anniversary and you've got to launch it at November, if you could have look at 2022, right? Imagine a fully realized Halo game now that would have launched in 2022 to really supplant these gaps of a no Starfield. I know hindsight's 2020.
No, you're right though. Hindsight is 2020, but I mean, think about that this could have been one of the biggest games of the year easily.
Yeah.
And it would have been in a better state. You just really got to wonder about the decision making here. It's very questionable.
Absolutely. I will say this on a positive. I know I'm always on 343, and I know a lot of people in the building, and I don't like ragging on them consistently, but I will say, with Joseph stating there, from all things I hear,
the word is
say this. Okay. Yes, the word things that I hear from a foundational standpoint, he's got a lot of sway in that building right now, and you're starting to see these high level positions being filled by ex-Bungie guys and people who have an attachment to the core essence of this game when it was at its apex. That to me is a good sign. So it's probably, if I had to guess, a soft reboot internally with what structurally they want to do. They may trim the fat on some things that they may have promised earlier, now that the direction may have shifted. And I do have faith for it, but when they come back, it's got to hit. They've got to do everything correct, because you've broken the trust already of this base. This base is like, hey, you guys don't care. I'm over here now. You know what I mean? What are you going to do to get me back, Halo? It's like, we broke up. It's a relation. you got to come with the boxes of chocolate, the candy, the flowers. You got to woo me to make me believe that you're serious this time. And I think all in all, they do got a chance to come back, because one thing about live service, you do it right, people come back. They will come back. You just may have lost that maximum zeitgeist that you had.
And that's all we got to say for this episode. It's been a long one, and it's been a fun one. Lone, thank you so much for joining us on the full ride here. Appreciate you. And for those who are unfamiliar with you, your work, where can they find you online?
You can find me pretty much on YouTube. Search LoneVaultWanderer. You'll find me at the moment focusing a lot on Bethesda games and news, Starfield in particular, Fallout. It's just my baby. Trying to get into other stuff, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you can find me there.
All right, right on.
Absolutely.
Cog, what are we feeling for the hashtag this week?
That's a good. Oh man, we touched so many. I don't even know. I was having such a good time when Lone was doing his thing. I forgot what we should do for that.
I got it.
Yeah, shout out to Lone.
It might be a little selfish because the game I'm hyped for, but I was thinking Lies of D.
Lies?
Instead of Lies of P.
I like it.
What's the D? Oh, like Lies of what? Well, what's the D stand for?
Duke, defining Duke.
Yeah.
Oh, Duke. Yeah. I'm like, okay, but it's like we lying?
No, just Lies of P, Lies of D. I was like,
Lies of D. Okay, I got you. I get the vision. I had a brain connection for a bit. Okay, I got it. I see what you're doing.
We have to just make it Lies of D though, right? We can't do Lies of D.
You got to have this synonymous with.
Otherwise, people are going to think we're lying about triple Ds, and that's we're just going to avoid that. So
we don't avoid that.
Tag us on Twitter at G27status, at Lord Cognito, at LoneVaultWanderer. And use the hashtag Lies of D. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. You can also use this in the comments. I saw a lot of hashtags last week, so I'm pleased with that. And please keep it up. We really do appreciate it. Give us your feedback. We're always looking for it. And with that, we'll catch you next week for episode 87 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Be well, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.